All right, we're live. Hey, Milty, what's up, man? You're Johnny on the spot this morning, man. How you doing? Holding it down for all those Twitch users over there. We're slowly getting some traction on Twitch. I think we're almost to 100 follows. Good morning, Bob. How are you? Good morning, Artwork Studios. Good to see you. How can I make my PowerShell black? I think you do that in the settings. Settings, appearance, and then is it maybe here? Foreground, background, and then selection background. Honestly, if you keep steady running at 6 viewers, you're doing good for Twitch. That's crazy. Okay, fair enough. I think that's how you change it, though. So I'm on Windows 10. Windows 10, I'm not sure, but I'm using the terminal app. My hardware isn't ready for 11. Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably have to be at your computer and fiddle around with it. Hello, Ducky Dev. Good morning. Good to see you. Good morning, Big J's Faith. Melty Terminal app. Yeah, this guy. I think this might be new to Windows 11. That's what I use. Good morning, Stu. Sorry, I almost missed your message there. Good to see y'all. Thank you guys for showing up so early. Really appreciate it. Hope y'all are having a good start to your day, or have had a good start to your day. Are you just, I guess, Melty, what PowerShell are you using? Are you using cross-platform PowerShell, or are you using Windows PowerShell? Because there's two different PowerShells, which I know is confusing. It's like there's two different .NETs. It's not a good situation. But there's this one, and then there's this one. This is cross-platform. Old crusty. Yeah, but it can be downloaded via Microsoft Store, Windows 10. Yeah, okay, try it out. Go for it. Get the terminal app. It's a much better app. Big J's face. I'm going to be purchasing a B-Link. Those things are powerful. I'm excited. Oh yeah, one of those little mini PCs. Heck yeah, dude. Go for it. DHH has said that he has had good luck buying little B-Links. I mean, I have a mini PC, and I like my mini PC. It's not a B-Link, but I like it. Why do you stream as shorts? Primarily just because of engagement and viewership. The engagement is so much higher when you stream to the shorts channel. Mikias. There is a landscape stream. You can go to, let's see, Mikias. Let's see. How can I find you? I love the terminal app too, Ducky Dev. Yeah, where are you? I think you're here. Yes, there is a members only stream on YouTube. There is a members only stream on YouTube that is horizontal. Or you can go to Twitch. Oh yeah, there you go. Twitch.tv. Did you watch CSI before, Steven? I've watched CSI, yes. I've seen CSI. You've been using Command. Try the terminal app. See if that does. I don't know if Command has cut all the appearance customization options. I've not used it extensively. Using Command Prompt, this guy right here. Yeah, I don't know if that has all the same appearance customizations. Alright, cool. Well, we had a little explosion of chat, a little fast and furious in the morning. Yeah, I'm 90.9% sure it doesn't. Well, that's why the terminal app's better, I guess. What are you gonna do? I'm hopping onto Twitch. Go for it, Ducky Dev. You may consume the stream on whichever platform best suits your needs. You know? Excuse me. Let's see, we got through all of this yesterday. No, we were talking about shadowing. That's where we left off yesterday. Unknown. Are you on Twitch? Yes, you can find my stream on Twitch. Yep, there's a horizontal version of it. You can go to https:// no, just go to twitch.stephenfreeborn.com, or you can type !Twitch in the chat, and it'll drop the link in there for you. One of my bots, one of the members of my bot army will respond to you with the link. I did make an app using Rust or Tori or whatever it's called today. It was rough as hell because of the model I was using, but it seems pretty capable for UI. I've heard great things about Tori. I know Oblivious swears by it. I know they did an episode of it on Syntax, FM. I watched an NDC talk on Tori replacing Electron or being a potential replacement for using Electron all the time. So it seems like it's a real thing. So is Tori different than Rust? Yeah, I think Tori is like Tori is more like Electron, right? Where it's basically offering you a way to author native applications using Rust and web technologies, right? That's basically how I understand it. A framework, I guess you would call it, or maybe a runtime is a better way to say it. I'm not sure exactly what language they use.
Did we just become best friends?
Hey, what's up, Ducky Dev? You made it over there to Twitch. What a long journey it was. Unknown. You have to type unknown. You have to type ! Twitch if you want the link. Yo, I just released my first chiptune demo. Nice. What's chiptune? Don't think I've ever heard of that before. I'm currently using Tori for my private Obsidian alternative. Nice. Heard good things. Steven, you reached 10K. I did reach 10K. I told my kids all about it. Chiptune, also called 8-bit music, is a style of electronic music and it's associated with subculture. Well, that's very cool, man. I'm glad you got your first one out there into the world. Hello, Ulas. Good morning. Thanks for being a member. Appreciate you. Steve, you know I respect and support you. I just have to skip the Rust stuff right now. My new brain can only retain certain things. Cheers, I'll check back in. No worries, dude. I totally get it. No worries at all, man. Come back anytime. I'm enjoying it so far for sure. I think I had to install some C. Yeah, you had to, or at least for me, when I installed Rust and was working with, I'm working with ICE, but I don't think it had anything to do with ICE. I think it just had to do with Rust in general. I had to install some C development and C++ development workloads. What's good, Tad? How are you? Is this Rustling? No, this is the Rust programming language book. Stu, grats on the 10K. Thank you very much. Yeah, it seems kind of wild to have a channel that has 10,000 subs. But then obviously I look over and I see the Privations crossing 1 million, and I see Mr. Beast has 54. So I realize it's such a small, tiny number, right? Like it's like pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of things. But I don't know. I could retire from YouTube now and feel like I accomplished something on YouTube. C++ dependency, so I thought that was weird. Yeah, I'm not sure what the interaction is there. I'm guessing maybe Bob or somebody else in the chat knows how Rust. I think Rust has some interoperability between C and C++. I don't really know anything about it though. I'm sure there's a good reason. See you, Studios. Have a good day. Wait, Steven, do you live in Olathe or North America? I do live in North America. I'm guessing NA stands for North America, but I live in Olathe. Yeah, Olathe, Kansas. I always just say Kansas City, Kansas. That's more what people
Did we just become
know.
best friends?
Thank you, Charles, for the follow. Appreciate that. It's very kind of you. I always just say Kansas City, Kansas, what I usually tell people. Multi-languages are confusing as fuck how they all work, what they need, their different capabilities. Yeah, it's not simple. A lot of programmers and developers want to paint it as being very, very simple. But if you were to pull like my mom off the street or my sister off the street and be like, hey, let me explain to you this thing, it's not straightforward. It makes sense to all of us because we're so in the weeds 24/7. It's like, yeah, oh, of course, right? Like we all have the curse of knowledge, but it's really not none of this is really all that intuitive. We like to believe it is, but it's really not. I think that's why vibe coding has hit so big with kind of the crowd that it does with the crowd of people that don't necessarily want to be programmers but they want to build stuff. I think that's why vibe coding hits, because obviously natural language is far more intuitive than anything we could dream up on a programming language. Oh, I meant nah, not in a. I'm not sure what you mean, Ducky Dev, but yeah, I'm gonna lurk. Nice, everyone's lurking. Lurk activated. All right, well, I guess I'm gonna learn some Rust then. Maybe build some Rust too. Good morning, Rampla. How are you doing? How goes the Warframe adventures? Hopefully you're winning some games. All right, let's talk about shadowing. LOL. Nah, man, I remember. As you saw in the guessing game in tutorial chapter 2, you can declare a new variable with the same name as a previous variable. Rustaceans say that the first variable is shadowed by the second, which means that the second variable is what the compiler will see when you use the name of the variable. In effect, the second variable overshadows the first, taking uses of the variable name to itself until either it itself is shadowed or the scope ends. We could shadow a variable by using the same variable's name and repeating the use of the let keyword as follows. So I don't know how I feel about this. I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted. So basically, you declare this 5. Now x is this. Now x is this. But notice you're redeclaring it. You're not reassigning it. You're redeclaring it, right? Shadowing is different from marking a variable as mut because we will get a compiler error if we accidentally try to assign to this variable without using the let keyword. By using let, we can perform a few transformations on a value, but have the value be immutable after those transformations have completed. Shadowing is that we're effectively creating a new variable. When we use the let keyword again, we can change the type of that value but reuse the same name. This to me is compelling. This use case here, because how many times have you written a program and you had to write something like this, where you had to be like, you got var num, right? And then you have to come down here and now you want to take the num and convert it to a string, so you have to say var. Well, I can't use num again, so I have to say num as string, right? And then do that. And then you got to go for or num dot to string, right? I think we've all struggled with something like that. So I think that's a compelling use case for shadowing. But I also think shadowing could be kind of confusing if you're not paying attention to the code you're reading very well. Quiz time. Determine whether the program will pass the compiler. If it passes, write the expected output of the program if it were executed. So Basically, the tricky thing here with this question is the fact that basically you're shadowing, right? Now at this point, but you have a new scope that's been declared here. So after the scope ends, this should return to this variable. So I think it's going to print 1. It's going to compile, but I think it's going to print 1. Determine whether the program will pass the compiler. If it passes, write the expected output of the program if it were executed.
Did we just become best friends?
And this will print hello world. No, this will not compile. Sorry, this will not compile. So basically, we're doing a reassignment, right? And this is typed to an unsigned 32-bit integer. This won't compile. Yeah, we got it correct. Let's go. Who just followed? Sorry, I missed your M1 Mickey2, I think is how you say your username. Mickey2, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Unknown, what are you making, by the way? Because I'm new here. Well, I'm glad you're new here. Unknown, thanks for being here. We are kind of doing two things. So we're basically, the overarching goal right now on the stream is we're trying to learn Rust, or I'm trying to learn Rust. And so we're doing two things. We're kind of doing some formal learning through reading the Rust programming language book, and then we're doing a little bit of hands-on reading by building a desktop application in Rust that's basically like a notepad alternative. So I can show it off to you. Also, good morning. Hello, Halo Vegivizer. I don't even know how I would say your username. See if SpeakerBot can help me with that. Let's see. Voice aliases. There we go.
Good morning, Hello Vegvisor.
Hello Vezvazer. Hello. I'm just gonna call you Hallow. How about that? Good morning. Good to see you. Are you sure I want to close SpeakerBot? No, I don't want to close it. So yeah, this is the application that we're building in Rust. So this is basically like a notepad. Hello, chat. It's been fun. We set up keybinds yesterday. Although one of my keybinds seems to be broken. Oh no, one of my actions is broken. Well, we have a bug. Okay. Well, cool. That's what we're building. Error, the system cannot find the path specified. Here we are, here we are, here we are again. Okay, data types. Every value in Rust is of a certain data type, which tells Rust what kind of data is being specified, so it knows how to work with that data. We'll look at two two data type subsets, scalar and compound. I always hate this word scalar. I think it confuses a lot of people. What's a scalar value? Keep in mind that Rust is a statically typed language, which means that it must have the types of all variables at compile time. The compiler can usually infer what type we want to use based on the value and how we use it. In cases when many types are possible, such as when we converted a string to a numeric type using parse, in the section chapter 2, we must add a type annotation like this. If we don't add U32 type annotation shown in the preceding code, Rust will display the following error, which means the compiler needs more information for us to know which type we want to use. A scalar type represents a single value. Rust has 4 primary scalar types. These are integers, floating point numbers, booleans, and characters. You may recognize these from other programming languages. Let's jump into how they work in Rust. An integer is a number without a fractional component. Charles, that was cool. What do you mean, Charles? You mean the desktop app was cool? This type declaration indicates that the value is associated with MRE. How come you don't stream in wide view? I do. If you go to, you can get a horizontal view in 2 different ways. You can go to my YouTube channel and look at the members only stream. There's a members only stream there that says 16:9 in it. But if you don't want to become a member and you want a horizontal stream, you can go over to Twitch. Twitch. And you can get the Twitch link by just typing !Twitch in the chat. So there is a horizontal stream. You just have to go find it. Yeah, there you go. I stream vertically though on YouTube largely because of engagement. Like Mr. E, you probably wouldn't have ever found my channel or me or my stream if I wasn't streaming vertically. So that's basically case in point of the vertical stream. How long did it take you to make the desktop application? We've been learning Rust since Monday, right? Monday? Yeah, so we've been building on it. We've probably built on it a total of like 4 hours, probably. Maybe less. There's been a lot of chatting on stream this last week. So somewhere between 2 to 4 hours we probably put into it. Mr. Yeah, I would, because I've been coding a lot, watching various live vibe coding streams. I don't know, man. Algorithmically, YouTube is not showing horizontal long form video. If I look at my analytics, long form, any type of long form video, whether it be streaming, whether it be short videos, long videos, horizontal videos just don't get the same algorithmic attention that vertical content does. Currently remaking my WPF app in Avalonia C#. Nice. I love C#. Love me some C#. I've never built any desktop apps with C#, but I love C#. Have you tried vibe coding with AI? I have tried vibe coding with AI. I've done a lot of coding with AI. And most of that has been tab completion. But the times that I've done the full-on agentic, let me spin up a couple terminals with Copilot CLI and the Gemini CLI and let me go to town, I always leave very disengaged with the activity of programming. So I've kind of set that aside personally. Also, nice username, by the way. I can imagine you sitting at your keyboard creating that account and being like, ha 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 ha, everyone will think this is hilarious. Mystery, I think for good engagement with programming on YouTube, widescreen is better long term. For views, typically you'll get more randomers on phones scrolling and watching, so the numbers may look better. I completely disagree, Mystery. I've been streaming now for 12 months, and I've streamed for 105 or more days straight, and I can clearly see in the analytics that my channel growth and my channel engagement, my channel viewership happens on mobile devices. Regardless of the piece of content I publish, it happens on a mobile device, and it's very clear that anything that's in a vertical format receives a larger reach than horizontal. And that's not an opinion, that's just factually based on the data in my YouTube analytics. I can't really offer you any more conclusive evidence. So that's why there's a vertical stream, and that's why I prioritize it, and that's why we started offering horizontal as an alternative for those people who say they want horizontal, because everybody says they want horizontal, but the horizontal doesn't get any viewership. I think it's another example of people saying they want something, but internally they don't really know what they want. Miki asks, to be honest, I'm new to your stream. Well, I'm glad you're here. Charles, I know C#, but I haven't built a desktop application with GUI and something. I've never built a desktop app either. I've only built web apps. I've only built APIs, background workers, CLIs, and web applications using C#. I've never built any native applications with C#. Mr. E, I'm only basing it off another guy I've seen live streaming wide stream, but yeah, that's why I said the numbers may look different. His engagement viewers are higher regularly. Well, yeah, I mean, if he's got a better following, maybe. In terms of my channel, though, this channel is an Uber X one. I have like 100 plus urban exploration videos in the UK. Nice! That's awesome. I bet those are very interesting. Way more interesting than a guy sitting in his basement reading the Rust programming language book. So that could be also be the problem with my content, is it's not super interesting. But it is my content, so it is what it is. This type declaration indicates that the value it's associated with should be an unsigned. Rampla, disagree. This channel is chill as fuck. Well, I appreciate that, Rampla. We try to keep it relatively chill. How many languages do you know? Here, we can switch over to the chatting view for a second here. Let's see, how many languages do I know? So I know C#, TypeScript, Python, Go, and now I know a little bit of Rust. And hopefully in another couple weeks I'll know more Rust. I found your channel through C# stuff, so I've left your stream on in the background a few times. Nice. Well, thanks for doing that, man. We haven't really done a ton with C# in the last 60 days. We've done a ton of Go, and now we're doing Rust. We just got done building a project with C# that was a donation website, or a buy me a coffee website, which was a lot of fun. But chat kind of peer pressured me into trying Rust. Hello, Blips. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Good morning, Danny. How's Rust going? Rust is going well. Yeah, we're making progress on that app, and we're making progress on the language. Yesterday was a much better day overall. Not saying the channel isn't chill. Oh, no, I don't think you were saying that, Mr. E. No, not at all. Just asking about the view, but I can use Twitch as well. Yeah, no, the view is completely up to you. If you don't fuck with the vertical, that's no big deal. You can do the members only horizontal if you want to support the channel and become a member. If you don't want to be a member, you can go over to Twitch, and there's a horizontal feed over there. Hi, Blips. Danny, I wasn't here yesterday. Oh, man. Well, yesterday was actually pretty good. Even though we spent like the first 2 hours of the stream just talking, the last hour of the stream we actually were pretty productive. We implemented a bunch of keybinds for the application. It was good. Harry Mad Haven. Havan. Hi, sir. Hello, Harry. How are you? Danny, so you started on the Notepad project? Yeah, here you go. We can actually, I demoed it for a second earlier. We can demo it again. Oh, I gotta switch the scene. Sorry, one sec. So this is our current Notepad experience. So you can say hello.
Did we just become best
chat.
friends?
Poga Zeus, thanks for following the channel. So you can do hello chat, and you can make the font bigger, you can make the font smaller, you can save the file. So you can say demo.txt, You can then delete all this. You can reload the file. Right? Pretty cool, huh? So we're slowly making progress. There's definitely a lot of polishing we need to do. But we're getting there. We're getting there. We also want to make the file operations. Right now, the file operations are all synchronous. So we'd like to make those asynchronous. It's going pretty good. Danny, oh, that looked nice. Yeah, I think it's going good. Pogazeus, that's me. Oh, nice. But on Twitch, all I can see is a cat picture at the moment. It's an ad. Yeah, welcome to Twitch. Twitch is full of ads. Charles, does it support markdown files? You can basically right now you can do any, you can save it as any file. It'll load text files. It'll attempt to load any file at this point. We haven't restricted which types of files it will attempt to load. We probably should do that. My ultimate goal, though, yeah, my ultimate goal is for it to eventually support previewing Markdown. So if you write Markdown in the editor window, you can preview it as a Markdown, like a fully rendered Markdown file. What am I saying? So that you can you can preview the Markdown as it would be rendered as HTML. Is what I'm trying to say. Danny, how did you plan it? We did it really. We basically, I picked a GUI framework, which was ice.rust, basically based on vibes, on Google and vibes. I found there's Tori, there's eGUI, and then there's ice.rs. They're all kind of frameworks for building desktop apps in Rust. And I picked iced.rs, and we just kind of started looking at Notepad on Windows and then trying to re-implement some of the basic functionality in Rust. That was really about it. I usually ask AI for complex logic breakdown when doing projects. Not a bad idea, Danny. Yeah, I've kind of in the last 72 hours, I will tell you guys, in the last 72 hours, I've taken a hard pivot on AI. I don't know why, but I've developed this overwhelming sense of anxiety that AI is going to make me a really shitty developer, and that I no longer want AI writing code for me, and I only want to use AI in chat interfaces. I'm just I'm super suspicious that AI is hiding my true abilities and giving me a false sense of my true abilities, and AI is preventing me from developing more and more as a programmer. And I know that sounds crazy in today's world, but that's my gut feeling at the moment. So I'm gonna kind of lean into it. Mystery, Twitch is lagging behind YouTube, and I can't type yet. Funnily enough, I'm working on a Notepad app with a database. I learned in WPF first, now doing in Avalonia. Very cool. Yeah, very cool, man. That's awesome. David Bailey, that's the right take. You mean the right take on AI, David Bailey? Yeah, I don't know. I've been using Copilot very heavily in my editor for tab completion for the last probably 18 or 24 months, and I do love it. I mean, it is so much. It does feel like magic, and it does make you feel uber freaking productive. But I don't think I want to trade. I don't think I want to trade a true sense of my own abilities for productivity. And I get it. If you're in a job and your boss is shoving AI down your throat, I get it. You gotta do what you gotta do. But that's not my situation. Charles, yeah, same. Okay, so there's other people that feel what I'm feeling. That's nice to know. You wouldn't know that based on all the content floating around the internet about AI and agentic development, but which isn't to say that I'm against people doing agentic development. If that's what if you don't have the same anxiety I do and you're having a ton of fun, more power to you. You know, like go for it. I'm gonna kind of lean into what my gut's telling me at the moment. Mystery. I've not been using any agents in my editor yet. I've been using Chinese AI and limited tokens to break down everything bit by bit and convert it to a working Avalonia solution. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Again, it's like I don't take issue with anybody's use of AI. Like everyone, it's your life, and you've got to live it the way that it feels best for you, right? But I'm just sharing with you guys where my head's at in the last couple days, last 3 days. I just had this deep sense of uncertainty of like when I'm working on something and I'm paused and I'm staring at the screen and I'm waiting for Copilot to fill it in, and I think, yeah, I just solved that problem. Did I really just solve that problem, or did Copilot solve that problem? It's like that sense of like, am I really a good enough engineer to actually do this, or is Copilot just holding my hand? That's where I'm at. I use agents to build a little video game in Godot. It does the 80%. I do the 20%. The 20% takes much longer though. Yeah, I mean, there is no argument that AI development is faster than non-AI powered development. I'm never going to argue that. Never going to argue that. I only use AI when I don't understand shit. Yeah, that's not. I mean, again, I think using AI in these chat interfaces, like as an improved search experience, or to build yourself almost like customized tutorials or explanations of things, I think is great. But I think letting it author my code might be a thing of the past for me, at least for the next little bit. I'm gonna see how this feels. Mystery. Also, using Visual Studio, it appears limited to Copilot, maybe? I can't seem to use others. Yeah, I think Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code just support Copilot, and then obviously Copilot has different models. If you want to use different models from different providers, you can switch which model you're using. But I don't think you can't bring like Claude Code unless you do it in the terminal. I mean, you can use Claude Code in the terminal within Visual Studio if you want, or Gemini CLI, one of those other open code. Wafflish, don't you think is the same for all abstractions? A Python developer would know how to manage memory effectively, like a C, C++ dev can. Yeah. I don't know. I understand this point, and it's something that other people have brought up to me about. Are you drawing an arbitrary kind of line in the abstraction hierarchy? And I guess in some ways I would say yes, and in other ways no. All I know is here's my, I guess, my gut feeling is when I write, and so not just code. I'm just talking about writing in general. If I sit down to write something, let's say it's an email to my boss, or it's a blog post, or I'm trying to write a nice long Slack message to explain the state of some client issue. The reason you write is to communicate, right? But you also, through writing, you're forcing yourself to think, and the writing is just making your thinking tangible. And so while the goal of the writing is the product, the thing you're going to share to others, there's some impact that the act of writing has on you as the author. There's something that it does to you as a human being. It makes you a better thinker, a better communicator. It gives you a better understanding of the thing you're writing about. And I think in the age of LLMs, you could get to the same output with an LLM or without an LLM, but the impact on you as an author is different. And I don't think it's different in a good way. I think it's different in a bad way. And I think the same thing goes, and my suspicion is the same thing goes for programming, is that while the outputs are the same, the effect it has on you as an engineer and as a developer are different. So while yes, I think you could say LLMs are just another abstraction, I think that there's something that's lost, or there's something that might be being lost by delegating the act of thinking and authoring code to an LLM. And I'm not sure what that is. Like, I have no evidence for this. This is just a gut feeling, an anxiety I'm having, and so I'm just leaning into that. Aerobic, have you done game dev before? If so, how was it? I've never, yeah, the only game dev I've done has been building Snake on a web page. That's about it. I feel as if I learn from the LLM rather than using the agent to implement the code for me. So I review every bit of code, sometimes rename things, test them, etc. Which, yeah, I mean, that's, again, it's like, I think the usage of LLMs, there's a lot of subtlety, there's a lot of gray area and stuff. But like, the thing I still go back to is like, okay, if I turned your LLM off, could you redo what the LLM just did for you? And that to me is the part that gives me gives me unease, right? If I took your LLM away, you know, would you be able to do what you've been doing? And so therefore, if I can't answer that question confidently, that means the LLM is giving me a false sense of ability. It's making me think I'm capable of things that I'm not capable of. And maybe maybe other people are going to say, well, that's the way it's supposed to be. We're going to be more cybernetic. We're going to be more dependent on these machines. I don't know. I don't think I'm ready for that. I don't think I want that. And if that makes me obsolete, that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that. Because, in the words of Walter White, never give up control. Dude, I love Walter White. I love Breaking Bad. That's probably my second favorite show next to The Office. See, game developing in a pure language is hard as fuck. I can't imagine. Yeah, I thought game development was hard. Like I said, I've only built one game, but it seems like it's pretty hard, or can be hard. Aerobic. I've been learning OpenGL with Copilot. The thing is, if you don't ask for what every single part means and test your knowledge, you wouldn't have internalized almost anything, and it's easy not to do. Exactly, Aerobic BS. I mean, that's the point. I think that's what I'm most concerned about, is that LLMs just make it too damn easy to just outsource all of the bits of the process that make you better. So you end up getting to the same output. You get to the same output, and you get to the same output much faster. But you, as the person, right? You as the engineer, you as the developer, as the author, you gave up all the benefit to yourself. Like, you gave it all up. Like that. And that's the trade-off that I'm like, I don't think I like that trade-off, or I'm concerned that that trade-off isn't worth it. And I get it. If you're in a job and your manager's driving you and you have to do these things and it's just the way of the world now, I'm not arguing with you there. That's fine. I get it. I'm saying I'm making more of a personal decision for my own development, right? For my own stuff, right? I'm not saying I'm not saying you should try to fight against the wave of AI that's currently flowing over all of corporate America. Wafflish, here's my take. There will be different types of LLM AI agents, users, the people who care about thinking and the ones who don't. Yeah, probably. Charles, thanks for redeeming a sub emote. The people who will review code and make sure it's efficient, and the ones who won't. Yeah. I'm gonna make a video. I am gonna make a video that kind of steelmans the case against agentic development, and so I'm curious to see what people's reactions are to that presentation. Because I have a thought on that, reviewing code and making sure it's efficient. I have a thought that there's actually there's some like math equation that you could write where you could say, LLMs produce more code and get you to an output faster. But if you want that code to be performant and secure, you also need a human being to review and validate it. And I think the amount of time it takes a human to review and validate AI generated code, depending on the complexity of the code that the AI generated, might outweigh the gains in productivity, right? It actually might be, you might actually not be getting as much back as you think you're getting back. Hey, Charles, you found the coffee goblin emote. Nice. That's awesome. Kirk Kennedy. With C++, I had it generate a hash map. Then I gut it like a header file, fill it in the best I can. Productivity will always be augmented and automated. That's fair. Yeah, totally fair. Also, please switch to landscape. You can go to Twitch if you want landscape. You can go to Twitch if you want landscape, or you can become a member of the channel here and support the channel. And there's a horizontal members only stream that's ad free here on YouTube if you'd like that. Sam D Dev, why does using LLM mean you don't want to think? I don't think if that's how I came across, I did not use my words well enough, so I apologize. I don't think that LLM sorry. I don't think that using LLMs mean you don't want to think. I think, or I'm suspicious selfishly or personally, that LLMs make it too easy not to think. And then they trick you into thinking you are thinking, that you are learning, that you are consolidating the information, when really what you're doing is you're just tab completing your way and being like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. Okay, cool. And then at the end of the day, it's almost like you followed a tutorial and you internalized none of it. And if you had to go back and redo that without the LLM, you probably couldn't have done it without a lot of Googling or a lot more trial and error or a lot more struggle. And to me, it's like that struggle and that Googling and the thinking and that's part of the getting better and internalizing the stuff is what I'm trying to say. So I'm not trying to say that you can't use LLMs in such a way that maybe it does make you better, but I think it's far more easy to use them in a way that I think doesn't make you better. I tried AI coding like a year or so ago and it was bad. Then like 8 months ago, better, but still bad. But these days it's so much better. Every month it's better. I'm not arguing the fact that agentic development isn't productive and that LLMs can't write good, correct working code. I'm not going to dispute those points. I I'm saying I'm concerned that there's a trade-off that you make as a developer when you use it. And I don't think the trade-off's worth it. You should read Tiger Style, a development style / guide. One of the things they mention is going fast by going slow. Interesting. Sounds like an interesting concept. Busy Slim. I use LLMs to explore concepts and approaches, but also write small pieces of code like functions to integrate. I'd never let an LLM start screwing up my working code. I I feel like that sounds very sensible and very reasonable. Mr. E, semi AFK with my daughter, but you're on in the background. Talk to you later. See you, Mr. E. Have a good morning with your kid. Madi Navas. Hello, Madi. Welcome. Good to see you over there on Twitch, holding it down for us. David Bailey, insert that one Spider-Man meme here. Steven Kirst. Hello, Steven. Hello, fellow Steven. Good morning. In your YouTube short, you said that social media is in a walled garden. I agree. I'm developing an internet computer protocol. I think that's a place where the internet will flourish again. I just think, I think what I think in that, what I said in that short is what I think is I think we need some sort of way to recreate the network effects that you see on these social platforms, but we need to be able to do it across platforms. I don't know if that's possible, but I think that's what we need. We need something like a Fediverse. We need algorithmic feeds, right? And we need network effects. But we need it to be across websites and across platforms. There needs to be interoperability. Kirk, LLMs are like smoking crack. For Kirk, I found I just wanted now, and stopped reading docs. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's I think that's the scary part to me personally. It doesn't have to be scary to anybody else. It's just scary to me. It's scary to me to think that I did all this work with an LLM, but on the other side of it, I didn't significantly improve as a developer. I just marginally got better. Sam Dev, is it weird that after not working for a couple months, I take so much time to break down a project concept before I start building, writing code? Any advice? I don't think that's weird. I don't think that's weird. I think in my experience, I'm much more of like a plotting engineer, so I usually will know like big picture what it is I want to do, but trying to break that down into very small itemizable tasks is often difficult. So I usually like my punch lists usually look pretty generic. Like I know I want this thing to happen, but I couldn't like itemize it all out for you exactly what things I need to do to make it happen. I sort of have to get in there and start authoring the code and tinkering and moving things around. So I don't think there's anything wrong with breaking down breaking down the project and trying to wrap your head around it. But I think there is something to be said about exploring a problem through code. I find it very useful. Madi, what's your main preferred programming? I guess I'm still chatting. I don't know why I keep switching back like I'm going to read the book. What's your main preferred programming language? C Sharp, probably. Yeah, C Sharp is my favorite. But if somebody was like tomorrow, they're like, you have to pick one, and you only get one, and you can't write anything else, then I would pick TypeScript. Is what I would pick, and that's because I can turn TypeScript into JavaScript, and that means that I can do great things in the browser because that's the native language of the browser. Kurt Kennedy, yeah, Tailwind just cut 75% of the staff because none is going to their doc site. Yeah, that's some crazy Tailwind drama over there. And the reaction from people on one of his PR on one of the Tailwind PRs, because I think it was Adam, the founder or the creator of Tailwind. He basically said he didn't want to deal with some LLM.txt file because he's in the middle of dealing with layoffs. Developers were so butthurt about it. I made a video on my YouTube channel talking about it for members. What do you think about Rust so far? I like Rust. Yeah, I like it. I love the immutability by default. I haven't gotten completely terribly deep into the whole ownership and borrow checker concept. I've run into it a couple times while building this application. But so far, seems like an okay language. Steven, ICP allows voting, and by that effect, I can imagine having cross-platform social stages. Nice. Nice. A huge area is SEO ranking and LLMs. Whoever straightens out that secret will be an instant billionaire. SEO ranking and LLM. So that means basically if you're talking to a chatbot and you ask like who is the best plumber, is that what you're saying? Then it should give you want to compete to be that recommendation, I guess. CMD dev. So I'm basically thinking too much about breaking the code down. Just start building. I don't think you're thinking about it too much. It's hard to say. I just know like my own workflow. My punch lists usually start higher level than they do lower level. Because there's sometimes I'll know I want to, like yesterday when I was building that desktop app, I knew I wanted to implement keybinds, but I had no idea exactly what needed to happen to implement those keybinds. So I can't actually break it down into a concrete, like, go to this place, add this function call, right? Implement this method. I can't actually break it down to that level of detail often, especially if I'm using something for the first time. That's been my experience. Right. Interesting. Yeah, I wonder if that will be how people monetize AI, or how people find a way to make AI sustainable, is something like SEO and advertising in chatbots. I could see it. SEO and LLM is being solved by Search Atlas. I've never heard of Search Atlas. That one's a new one for me. I think OpenAI, Anthropic, Microsoft, Google will add ads to LLM, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what that's going to look like. My personal thesis is that LLMs do eventually become a free utility like search. I think they will get monetized in some other way. I'm just not terribly sure how they get monetized. Charles, how's Rust so far? Rust is good. We haven't done very much of it this morning. We've been chatting most of the morning, but it's good. Yeah, no complaints at the moment. We're currently learning about data types. That's what we're learning about right now. Kurt Kennedy, my thesis is 1984 by 2030. My superpower will be thinking. I love that, Kirk. I absolutely love that. Well, I was talking to a colleague at work yesterday, and we were talking about AI and how much we use it and how kind of we were basically talking about the concern about giving up our reps to AI and losing our edge and yada yada yada. And then at one point in the conversation, I said, I kind of want to be I don't know how many of you have seen the show The Last of Us, right? But there's a character in The Last of Us played by Nick Offerman. The Last of Us, Nick Offerman, yeah. Yeah, this guy. And oh, you guys can't see this. Oh yeah, you can. I'm on the right scene. And basically, if you just as for some context, basically Nick Offerman's character in post-apocalyptic world, he basically has this like oasis where he has like everything he needs to survive, but it's largely because he's a super capable individual. Like he can do a lot of shit on his own and he knows how to do things, which makes him incredibly valuable and incredibly functional, right? And so I was kind of telling my colleague the other day, I was like, I kind of want to be like that, but in a post AI world where like I still want to be one of the people who knows and understands how this stuff works and can use it even if AI or LLMs didn't exist. So I think that's why I feel very I think it's very important to me that I stay close to the skill and keep my edge sharp and continue to develop and not just completely lean into having AI do everything for me. Good morning, Dakar Code. How are you? When is ICANN doing their thing this year? ICANN? I don't know what that is. ICANN? Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers? I have no idea. I don't even know what that is. Since you're home in the .NET universe, what's your stance on F#? That's funny. Twitch thought .NET was a bad thing, so it stripped it out. What's my stance on F#? I've never tried it. I'd love to try it. Yeah, I'd love to try it. Since it's kind of the .NET functional language, I'd love to give it a try. What IDE or editor do you prefer? Right now, I've been using NeoVim quite a bit. That's kind of been the main one. I use Visual Studio Code some. I use Visual Studio some. I use Writer some. But lately, it's been a lot of NeoVim. A lot of NeoVim. Oh, goodness. That means my GitHub theme needs to be reinstalled. But yeah, NeoVim's what I've been using. Kirk Kinney, yeah, that's why my wife and I built a farm in the Philippines. I'm getting into soldering hardware, then engines for optimal uptime when Musk tries to harvest our brain goop. Yeah, I mean, I don't want anybody to think like I'm a prepper because I'm not a prepper. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like I just want to be capable, right? I want to be the Primogen talks about how fun it is to be competent and how fun it is to be capable, how fun it is to feel confident in your skills and your abilities. And so, and I believe that because I've experienced that both somewhat in programming but in other fields as well. And I don't want to give it up. I don't want to give it up. And I'm not saying AI makes you give it up, I just have a suspicion that AI is giving me some false sense of what I'm truly capable of at some level. Aerobic BS. I just know that ICANN or who permits domain namespaces into DNS, like from a Web3 namespace to a DNS one. Ah, okay. Very cool. Yeah. I'm not sure when they're doing stuff. I don't really pay attention to any of it. Hello, Amba. How are you? Good evening for you, but good morning for me. I hope you're doing well. I'm new to Vim. It looks hard as fuck with tons of commands. It's not, so the basics are not hard, but once you want to be like some of the stuff, there's a guy in my chat named Butterscotch who sometimes while I'm editing in NeoVim, he'll be like, "Hey, don't do that, do this, do that instead." Like he has all this Vim food knowledge to make me better, and I don't use it very well. So the basics of Vim I think are fairly straightforward, but once you start getting into some more complex movements, that's where I think it just takes time. It just takes time. You got to practice, build that muscle, build the habit. Maddie, I'm with you on the AI topic. I really enjoy streams where it is not just about vibe coding and/or the latest AI models. Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I'm glad maybe my stream can be a helpful addition, maybe to some of your content consumption, because I don't do any of those things really on on stream, but uh, I'm okay with people who do though. Like one of my favorite YouTubers is a guy named WebDev Cody, and he's heavy into agentic development now. And it looks like he's having a blast. He's having a lot of fun with it and enjoying himself. And so I'm not trying to tell anybody how to live their life, and I'm not trying to say my way is the right way. I'm just a 32-year-old dad in Kansas who's trying to navigate having a career and being a father and trying to get to retirement, and trying to figure out how to navigate trying to make a career as an engineer last until I retire, And so I'm just sharing with you guys in real time what I'm thinking about and how I'm feeling about it all. It doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong. It is. All right. So we can have different types of integers, which is wonderful. Let's see. Additionally, the I size and U size types depend on the architecture of the computer your program is running on. 64 bits if you're on a 64-bit architecture, and 32 bits if you're on a 32-bit architecture. So you can do unsigned, or you can do signed size or unsigned size. You can write integer literals in any of the forms shown in Table 3.4. So decimal, hex, octal, binary, whereas a byte. Nice. So how do you know which type of integer to use? If you're unsure, Rust defaults are generally good places to start. Integer types default to int32. The primary situation in which you'd use I size or U size is when indexing some sort of collection. Let's say you have a variable of type U8 that can hold values between 0 and 225. Excuse me. If you try to change the variable to a value outside that range, such as 256, integer overflow will occur, which can result in one of two behaviors. When you're compiling in debug mode, Rust includes checks for integer overflow that cause your program to panic. Okay. When you're compiling in release mode with the release flag, Rust does not include checks for integer overflow that cause panics. Instead, if overflow occurs, Rust performs 2's complement wrapping. In short, values greater than the maximum value the type can hold wrap around to the minimum values the type can hold. I think that's probably a good practice. To explicitly handle the possibility of overflow, you can use these families of methods provided by the standard library for primitive numeric types. Wrapping, return none value if there's an overflow with the check methods, return the value and a boolean indicating whether there was an overflow with the overflowing methods. Okay, wonderful. We also have floats, so we can do float 32, float 64. Here the default type is float 64. Fair enough. Numeric operation. Rust supports the basic mathematical operations you'd expect for all the number types. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, remainder, integer division, truncates towards 0 in the nearest integer. The following code shows how you'd use each numeric operation in a let statement. That seems normal and very much like other languages. Then we have a Boolean type, and then we have a char type. Cool. The largest number representable by the type I-128, I think it's this. What will happen when computing x minus 1? Depends on the compiler mode. Determine whether the program will pass the compiler. If it passes, write the expected output of the program if it were executed. I honestly don't know. Let's say it does compile, and let's say it prints 2. Okay, I need to go back and reread this section. I got 1 out of 3 correct. So 2 to the 28th minus 1. The largest number representable by the type is. Determine whether. Let's see. The program does compile. The output of this program will be 2. In general, a signed number within bits can represent numbers between negative 2 to the nth minus 1 and 2 to the nth minus 1 minus 1. Okay. If x u of a equals 0, what will happen when computing x? It depends on the compiler mode, yes. Determine whether the program will pass compiler. If it passes, write the expected. Okay, so what should this happen? The program does not compile. The type f size does not exist. Floats must be either f32 or f64. They got me with that one. That was tricky.
Did we just become best friends?
That was a tricky one. Matt Dev, thanks for the follow, man. Appreciate it. All right, well, that quiz I utterly failed. Charles, learning Rust. We are learning Rust. And we're going to probably write a little bit of Rust. We'll probably work on that desktop app at some point. Compound types can group multiple values into one type. Rust has 2 primitive compound types, tuples and arrays. A tuple is a general way of grouping together a number of values with a variety of types into one compound type. Okay, the variable tup binds to the entire tuple because a tuple is considered a single compound value. To get the individual values out of a tuple, we can use pattern matching to destructure a tuple value like this. Okay. This is also called destructuring because it breaks the single tuple into 3 parts. You can also access a tuple element directly by using the period, followed by the index of the value we want to access. Tuple without any values has a special name. It's called a unit. This value and its corresponding type are both written as open close parens and represent an empty value or an empty return type. Expressions typically return the unit value if they don't return any other value. That's good to know. Expressions implicitly return the unit value if they don't return any other value. We can also assign to the indexes of the tuple. Wonderful. And then we have arrays. We write the values in an array as a comma separated list inside square brackets. That looks very familiar. Arrays are useful when you want your data allocated on the stack, the same as other types we have seen so far, rather than the heap. Or when you want to ensure you always have a fixed number of elements. An array isn't as flexible as the vector type, though. A vector is a similar collection type provided by the standard library that is allowed to grow or shrink in size because its contents live on the heap. So this is kind of like in Go. Go, you have arrays, but you also have slices. Chances are you should use a vector. Chapter 8 discusses vectors in more detail. Yep. This all seems very relatable. Okay, let's see what happens if you try to access an element, of an array that's past the end of the array. Say you run this code similar to the guessing game in chapter 2 to get an array index from the user. The code compiles successfully. If you run this code using cargo run and enter 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, or 4, the program will print out the corresponding value at that index in the array. If you instead enter a number past the end of the array, such as 10, you'll see an output like this. Index out of bounds. Okay. Yep. This check has to happen at runtime, especially in this case because the compiler can't possibly know what value a user will enter when they run the code later. This is an example of Rust memory safety principles in action. In many low-level languages, this kind of check is not done. And when you provide an incorrect index, invalid memory can be accessed. So this is like in C#, this is the behavior that happens in C# is if you try to index into something that's out of bounds, you get an exception. So Rust emulates that, but I guess other low-level languages don't. But I don't know that because I haven't written any C or C++, so I guess this is unique for low-level languages. Chapter 9 discusses more of Rust error handling, how you can write readable, safe code that neither panics nor allows invalid memory access. Determine whether the program will pass the compiler. If it passes, write the expected output of the program if it were executed. It will not compile because these are not the same type. This will compile? No, this won't compile, I don't think either. You can initialize an array to contain the same value for each element, but in a more concise way. Okay, so yeah, that will compile. So I don't think this compiles. I do think this compiles. I think this prints 2 and 4. So 6. The program does compile. The output of this program will be 4. A 0 tuple at 1 is 0. So what does this notation do? Let's see, you can also initialize an array to contain the same value for each element by specifying the initial value followed by a semicolon, and then the length of the array in square brackets. The array named A will contain 4 elements that will all be set to the value 3 initially. Oh, okay. I had it backwards. So this will be 2 1s, and this will be 4 3s. Yeah, okay. Probably shouldn't speed run the book. By the way, what's the app or website you are using to learn Rust or languages? This is called rustbook.cs.brown.edu. I put the link in the description of. Oh, you're on Twitch, so you. I don't think I have it over there. So at Charles, I'll drop it in the chat for you, Charles. There you go. It's basically the Rust programming language book, but they added interactivity to it, so it has some quizzing for each of the sections, which I think is kind of nice. I think what they actually should do, though, is they should probably put the quizzes at the beginning, then they should make you read it, and then you should take the quiz again, right, to kind of measure what you actually learned. And also probably to figure out if you need to read that section, right? If you can answer the quiz questions, you may not need to really review that section. Always wasted. Do you know something like this but Java, C++? I don't. I really don't. I've never learned Java and I've never learned C++. So I don't have very good resources on that front. I'm sure there's something out there, you know, especially with considering how long those languages have been around. I gotta imagine somebody out there has put together something that has readability but also interactivity to some extent. All right, Rust code uses snake case. Wonderful. Please, sir, can I become a developer without degree? Please reply. Let's see. What's my thought on this? My thought is that yes, you can 100% become a developer without a degree. I mean, I think there's lots of people out there who have proven that. I do have a degree, but it's not in computer science or software engineering or anything like that. My degree is in biochemistry. So I can't say that I've done it, but I can say that I'm kind of a self-taught developer, self-taught programmer. And I think there are a lot of self-taught programmers and developers out there who do not have degrees, right? I think the trick is getting your foot in the door. That's the hardest thing to do. And I think the key, in my opinion, the key is not to be picky with how you get your foot in the door, right? So if you can't get your foot in the door as a developer, can you get your foot in the door some other way? Can you be a support person? Can you be an IT help desk person? Can you be a sales engineer? Can you be a marketing like can you get your foot into the tech industry or into a company that has technology as part of its world that might allow you to kind of work your way into that ultimate role that you desire? That might be a good strategy. Solo indie game developer can be good, right? I think so. I mean, I'm not sure. It sounds like a very hard thing to make a living at, in my opinion. But I've never tried to do it, and I don't have much experience in that world. But I see people who say they're solo indie game developers. So, you know, but to me, from looking from the outside in, I would be like, man, it seems like it would be hard to support me, my wife, and my 2 kids being a solo indie game developer. You know? Madi, can I share a link? It is for a Java mock. Since over at YouTube someone asked. Oh, for sure you can. Although I don't know if Twitch will let you share it in the chat. You might have to join our. You could join our Discord and maybe drop it in the Discord. You don't have to. You don't have to stay in the Discord. You can just drop the link and then chat out. That's probably the best place. It looks like Twitch stripped your link, Maddie. Oh, be gone. Or if you just like maybe if you type the link instead of putting like dots, right? Maybe just type the words and replace any of the periods with the like square bracket dot or something, and I can translate it for you over to the YouTube folks if you want. I love the fact that JavaScript uses the function keyword, Go uses func, and Rust was like, oh, really, guys? We'll bet. We're going to use 2 letters, FN. Everyone tried to shorten that keyword the best they could. Stop AI with us. Sir, I know HTML, CSS, now learning JavaScript. My goal is to become a MERN stack developer. Nice. I think it's a wonderful goal, man. All those things you're learning are foundational to building things on the web. So it sounds like a wonderful goal. MD, day 3 of suggesting you do rustling side by side with book that you would love for sure. I'm definitely gonna do wrestlings. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do wrestlings. Just one thing at a time. You know, MD, one thing at a time. I don't have the attention span for like 3 or 4 different things all happening at the same time. Java programming.mooc.phi. Okay, let me do a little bit of vetting before I post that. not that I think you're trying to trick me. Just Java programming.mooc.phi. Did not like that. That did not seem to work. I got model not found, record not found, no return. I don't know if this is what you're supposed to get, but this is what I got. Something's not right. Excuse me. Oh, lots of yawn this morning. I'm still learning C# with the Microsoft guide thing. Nice. Yeah. Go. More power to you, man. C# wonderful. I wish everyone would give C# a try. Bite cubes. Bite cubes. Cubes. How can I possess that cursed knowledge? What do you mean, cursed knowledge? Is being good at 3 languages already enough? I want to be good at Python, Java, C++. I think being good at 1 language is probably enough. Always wasted. I mean, I think it depends largely on the type of development you want to do, right? It seems like these days you almost always have to know more than 1 language if you're going to work in web dev. But it seems like if you wanted to just do like embedded system stuff, you could get away with just knowing a single language. Or if you wanted to do just native desktop development or native mobile app development, you could get away with just knowing 1. But I think knowing Python, Java, and C++ are plenty. Feels like you could definitely get a job with Java or Python knowledge in today's world. Syed, maybe? Is that how you say your name? Syed? Bro, I'm struggling to start coding because it's really hard. Even when I start, I lose motivation in 3 to 4 days. I can't stay consistent. So what will you say to me? What language to start and what path? Syed, I send everybody to the same place, and I'll send you the link. Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna send you to freecodecamp.com or freecodecamp.org. Sorry, freecodecamp.org. That's the best place to go. That's where I send everybody. Obviously, your motivational thing is like a whole problem unto itself, but as far as like what you would use to learn, that's where I would start. Java Uni Helsinki MOOC. What does MMOC stand for, Maddie? What is that? MOOC. What is that? Java Uni Helsinki MOOC. Massive open online course. Okay. I was like, what does that stand for? I found it. Here you go, chat. I think somebody, I don't remember who was asking for it, but in YouTube, this was Twitch's recommendation for Java learning. There you go. I'm passing messages between Twitch and YouTube now. I've become a messenger. Learn code self-cert. Can you teach React? I don't really teach anything really. I stream when I'm learning, and that's about it. I don't really teach anything.
Did we just become best friends?
Big Brock, thanks for the follow, man. Appreciate that. But if there's something you'd like to know about React, I'm happy to try to answer it. There's a channel called Web Dev Simplified Learn Code Self, that is really, really good at teaching web development stuff if you're looking for like courses. There's also another one called Traversy Media that has a lot of really good tutorials on it. So maybe check out some of those if you're looking for somebody who's kind of interested in being more of a teacher. I'm usually just streaming and sharing content around whatever it is I'm learning or building. And if other people find that helpful and interesting, great. But I'm not terribly interested in being like a teacher. Rustling. You won't get distracted if the code matches the chapter. It actually reduces confusion. Yeah, but MD, then I have to do the work of trying to figure out which rustling thing goes with what chapter of the book that I'm reading. So MD here, I'll just so that you can stop following up on this. I'm gonna do rustlings. I'm not gonna do it right now, nor I'm gonna do it while I'm reading the book. I'll do it after as like a separate activity. There you go. There's your answer. All right. A little bit more of the book, and then we'll try to implement some features in our application. Santosh, the official docs. Where to learn React? I'm confused. Where to learn React? Let me see. I'll link it up for you here for you. The official docs are fine. But if you're on YouTube, I'm guessing you're kind of a YouTube person, or maybe you're a video person. So I'll link it up for you. YouTube.com, web dev simplified React course. I'm sure he's got something. I mean, some of these videos are kind of old, but here you go. What was your name? @LearnCodeSelf. @LearnCodeSelf. Here you go. There's a playlist for you. There's also a guy named Traversy Media. Traversy Media. React. I mean, at some point you have to just kind of get out and build, right? But these guys should give you a pretty good starting point. They're more focused. Their channel and their content is far more focused on like being educators and teachers. So they're much better at it. Those should be helpful resources. The official docs will be good too. Charles, what OS do you use? I use Windows. I'm on Windows 11. I'm a basic bitch. I don't have any of that riced up Linux setup. What kind of development is friendly for people who hate math? I think pretty much most programming is friendly for people that hate math. I feel like the only time you really encounter math is when you get into anything that has to do with data science or machine learning, or if you get into like the internals of doing game development. But I think beyond that, most other programming is much more focused on like logic puzzles than it is math. That's my feeling, or been my experience. Syed, how many months does it take to learn coding? What are your thoughts on AI progressing quickly and replacing good old manual coding? Oh, here we go. No, I mean, Syed, it's fine. I'm happy to talk about this. It comes up quite a bit, though. I don't know how many months it will take to learn to code. I'm sure there's people who have learned in 30 days. For me, it felt like it took me about 90 days to get pretty comfortable with it. It took me about a year before I really had a lot of confidence in my abilities, where I felt like if anybody asked me to build something, I could probably come up with a solution. I think the timeline varies. varies for every individual and every context, so it's hard to give an estimate. As far as AI progressing quickly, it is progressing quickly. As far as it replacing good old manual coding, I think it probably will continue to replace more of the manual coding activity as developers get more comfortable with using it. Regardless, as far as like how I'm going to live my life, I'm probably going to keep doing good old manual coding. And if I ever become obsolete because of that, so be it. I'll go find a different career. Charles, it depends. I'm guessing, Charles, you were referring to programming without math. I already forget how to do division in two-digit numbers. LOL. I'm here coding. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think most programming, in my experience, doesn't rely significantly heavily on very complex math day to day. So, I mean, I'm sure under the hood there's a lot of complex math, but at the level that I interact with code, there isn't a lot of math. Mochi Mochi, how's the rest going? Well, we haven't done a terrible amount of it, honestly. There's been a lot of chat. Been a lot of chatting. I will destroy AI and reset the world. Well, thank you, Byte Cubes. Thank you for doing that. We gonna all be farmers eventually? Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if we'll be farmers. I don't know what we'll be doing. I agree. W for bytecodes. W for bytecodes. Although, I mean, I do appreciate AI. Like, I want AI to still write my documentation. I don't want to write my own documentation. I'm happy to give that up to AI. All right, I'm gonna go get coffee. Have you tried coding on paper? It was a pain in the ass when our teacher gave us that homework back then. Oh yeah, I've written code on paper. Actually, I still have assignments from that. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Here's some handwritten code. I guess this was typed out. But it's in a Microsoft Word doc. It's not, So yeah, I've definitely. Let's see if I have any scanned handwritten ones. These were all from when I took computer programming in college. I thought I had some handwritten examples in here somewhere. Looks like that's all typed. But yeah, definitely written code outside the editor before. It's not a great experience. I'm not sure I'd be a programmer today if I had to write without an LSP. No, I just don't have any handwritten ones, just typed ones. Good times, good times. Charles, you found the other emote. Nice. That's my coffee emote. I'm glad you're finding all the emotes over there on Twitch. Nice one, dude. We did Java and SQL on paper. Yeah, nice. ByteCube, when did you graduate? I graduated college in 2015. I got a degree in biochemistry, and I spent the first 7 years of my career working in food science. That's what I did for the first half of my career. Excuse me, I've had some big yawns today. Don't know what's going on. How did it feels like? What do you mean? To graduate? Hey, what's up, Dismal Light? Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Life's treating you well, I hope so. Damn, that's amazing. Biochemistry and coding. Yeah, the biochemistry was a ton of fun. I never actually got to work as like a true bench chemist. The food science stuff I did was much more like applied science, applied chemistry. But maybe if AI takes all the coding jobs, I can maybe go back and freshen up my knowledge and try to see if I can't land a job as a bench chemist somewhere. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see where we are. Life's long. I still got another probably 20 years of working at least ahead of me. So I imagine I probably have 2 to 3 more careers in me before it's all said and done. If AI comes for our jobs. All right, I'm going to run upstairs and get coffee. Then I'm going to come back and we're going to implement some features in our desktop app. So I'll be right back. If you're not going to hang around, I get it. Totally understand. You're going to scroll on. Thanks for being here while you were here. But I'll be back in like 1 or 2 minutes. So it might be a good chance if you are sticking around to go get yourself a coffee. BRB. Apologies, that took a little longer than I expected. I'm back though. Also, my phone died. Never a good thing. I think my phone and my watch died. Hello, unknown reason. Teacup ASCII looks great. Hello, Rustlings. Rustlings Afterbook. Oh my goodness, MD. You're such a troll. You went and created a whole... You went and polluted YouTube with a whole new account just to make your point. I respect the determination, though. Let's see. I believe we came here for the same reason. Unknown reason. See, I just like the vibe. Oh, well, thanks, man. I'm glad you like the vibes. We're going to try to do some Rust programming now. We spent a lot of time chatting this morning. We're going to try to code us up a notepad application in Rust is what we're going to try to do. Open this in NeoVim. All right. So let's take a look at the state of the world currently real quick before we do anything. Blocking, waiting for file lock. Oh. All right, so state of the world currently is we can save as, we can open, we can save. We can also, what can we also do? We can also do keybinds to trigger all these actions. We can increase the font size like this, which is great. I think what I'd like to do today is I'd like to figure out the bug that's causing this. Well, maybe it's not a bug then. There was some sort of bug earlier. Okay. Seems to be working now. All right, so I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to add another menu here, kind of like Notepad has, where it has a view where you can change the zoom. I think I'd like to have something similar. I'm actually gonna change that keybind too. Not now. Let's say I'm gonna change this keybind really quick. We also need to change the order of these. So I think this one should go over here. Let's also put these on new lines. This. Charles, I don't know anything in Rust, but I'll try to understand. No worries. Yeah, I don't know anything really in Rust either, so I'm going to try to understand it all. I'm going to try to understand it all too. Byte cubes, what are you doing? I'm building a notepad application using Rust is what I'm doing. But I'm going to change right now. Increase font requires shift, but I don't want it to. So increase font is just going to require the control key plus equals. That's what Notepad does. So let's stop our app and let's rerun it. I tell you what, the dev loop of building one of these desktop apps though is pretty poor without hot reload. Like you just basically have to stop it and restart it all the time, which is kind of shitty. Oh, are we building a text editor? Basically, yeah. Basically, we're building a very simple. We're going to add Markdown support for it, or Markdown previewing, and that'll be really the killer feature for me personally. So we'll say, good morning, chat. We are building a notepad alternative in Rust. Yeah, that's better. So we have control plus, control minus to shrink, control S to save this. Cool. Alright. So what we want to do is we want to have another column. So we have file menu, and so we're going to do another item here. And we're going to call it view. And we're going to have this called state.selected file action. And we'll say selected view action. Like this. Increase font. Can it view different file extension types? Right now it just does txt. It basically right now all it does is it renders text. It will try to load any file type right now at the moment, which is something I should probably fix. But right now it'll basically try to load any file type and just display it in the text editor is what it'll do. Oops. Expected value found enum view action. Use pass separator to refer to. Oh, I keep doing that. I always want to use the dot operator. Then we'll also implement the same type of thing here. Probably need to move these to separate files now. It's getting kind of unwieldy. Increase font. Decrease font. I think this one should be first. Okay, so now we'll come down here and we'll say, wonderful, we've got all our view actions. And we'll come down here and we'll say, okay, we don't want a file menu, we want a view action all this, and then we want selected view action, and we will do message view action selected like this. Now that doesn't exist here, so we will do view action selected, and we pass in view action. This is going to be the view menu, not the file menu. Somebody's complaining. Oh. Who else is complaining? Non-exhaustive. Yep, that's fine. So for here, we will just say print line view action selected. Okay, now let's try to run this and see if that new menu shows up. The only coding I know is the command prompt on Windows. Well, hey man, you know something. There's nothing wrong with using the command prompt. What's the difference between NeoVim and Vim? I think the biggest difference is NeoVim is much more extensible. As I understand it. I've never used Vim too heavily, so I don't know the ins and outs of it. But as I understand it, some of the stuff you can wire up in a modern, or some of the things that you would expect from a modern editor, like LSP support or debug adapter protocol support or anything like that, isn't something you could do in Vim at the time in which NeoVim was forked and developed. So yeah, I would guess NeoVim is a more extensible version of Vim. All right, now we need to actually use that view action thing. Oh, also, let's put some spacing. Let's put some spacing on our, excuse me, view. So here's our action bar. Let's do 5. What's that look like? If I want to make mobile apps, what do I need to learn of coding? If you want to make mobile apps, you kind of have to pick how you want to build your mobile apps, right? That's the biggest thing. There's a lot of different ways you can build mobile apps. So you can build mobile apps kind of natively. Like if you're building an iOS app, then you'd have to learn how to write Objective-C or Swift. And if you wanted to build native Android apps, I think you'd have to learn how to write Kotlin, I think is the programming language that most people use for native mobile apps. But then there are also tools like Flutter or C Sharp's. If you want to use C Sharp, you can do it with .NET MAUI. So there's other ways you can write mobile apps without using the specific language of that platform. But you have to basically pick like how do you want to go about doing it, right? Do you want to use web technologies? Do you want to use C++? Do you want to use Rust? Like how do you want to, what languages do you want to author the mobile app development in? And then go learn those so that you can actually develop on those platforms. So like if I was just going to boil it very simply, I would just say go learn Swift for iOS and go learn Kotlin for Android, and then go try to build a iOS app or go try to build an Android app with those languages. Mystery, where in the world you from, Steven? Just looking into this NeoVim you're talking about. So I'm in Kansas City, Kansas. So if you're familiar with the United States and you know where Kansas is, that's where I'm at. Just looking into this NeoVim you're talking about. Yeah, NeoVim's pretty cool. I learned about NeoVim from the Primogen. He was the one that introduced me to it. I watched him use it for about a year and a half after finding his content. And then the person who actually convinced me to take the plunge on NeoVim was this YouTuber named Typecraft. He has a series called NeoVim for Noobs, which is such a great name for a course. NeoVim for Noobs. And this was the I watched all these videos in like one night while I was laying in bed, and this was kind of the jumping off point for me to start using NeoVim last year. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a nice little fun side quest that I've gone on. How do you install plugin in NeoVim? Hold on, unknown reason. That's my question. What language? So I would probably, if it was me, I'd probably want to build iOS apps, and I'd probably start with learning Swift. Is the programming language I'd probably start trying to learn. How do you install plugin NeoVim? I think the thing with plugins in NeoVim is you have to pick a package manager. So there's a few different ones out there. I think one's called Lazy, one is called Pack or Pac-Man or something. There's like 3 or 4 of them that are pretty mainstream. NeoVim package managers. As mainstream as something like this can be, yeah. Pack in Vim, Lazy, NeoVim, Vim plug, Packer. That's another one I've seen quite a bit. Yeah, so you just have to pick a package manager, and then once you have the package manager set up, you can use the package manager to install things. So if I type Lazy, because I'm using Lazy, then I can use Lazy to install different manage my different packages that I have installed. And then obviously you have to register these as part of your configuration. So in NeoVim, you'll have a place where all of this is configured. So if I go to edit NeoVim configuration, you'll have a place where you define all of this. So this is specific obviously to Lazy, but you can see I have this folder of plugins which contains different plugins that I want to have loaded when NeoVim starts up. So it's, again, this is like a whole rabbit hole. NeoVim is kind of like it's a whole rabbit hole unto itself. So it takes a little bit of work to get started and to get going. But once you start and once you get going, it's relatively easy to continue to build upon it. And there's a lot of like starter kits now. Like I think there's one called chad.invim, and there's another one called lazy.invim that will basically give you like a bunch of stuff pre-configured and pre-set up out of the box, kind of like Omarchi does now for Linux. So you might look into stuff like that. Raphael, I've tried literally everything, but I will forever keep using NeoVim. Yeah, NeoVim's a lot of fun, man. I think it's a ton of fun. I think I don't know if I'll always use NeoVim, but I'll always use Vim Motions now. I've downloaded a few others recently, Cursor, OpenCode, but still using Visual Studio myself. Nothing wrong with that, man. Do your thing. Use the tools that you enjoy. Yeah. Specifics for your project. Specifics for your project. I don't know what you're wanting, Mr. E. I don't know what that means. All right, we have to use this now. Okay, so let's go down here. What we're gonna do now is we're going to have message file action selected, and not file action, view action selected, and this will be action, and then we will do some stuff. So we are going to say state.selected view action we will set to none. So this is how we keep the menu looking like a menu, because we're not really using a menu, we're using a picker, but it'll work. And then we're going to take all of this logic here and we are going to move this up into this. And the only difference is now what we're going to do is we're going to match over the action. So we're going to say match action. Like so. And this is going to be view action. View action, like so. And then we're going to get rid of this one. And we are going to get rid of some of the messages. So we no longer need the top level we no longer need these. So we'll remove those. And that's obviously going to make some other people mad because we took away some of their stuff. But now what we're going to do is instead of increase font, we're going to dispatch a view action selected. And then inside here, we're going to pass in our view action of increase font. And we'll do the same thing here, view action. View action decrease font, like this. I think I'm missing a parentheses. All right, now I'll go back and we'll do some testing now, and this should work now. So let's go cargo run. Do you work from home? Yes, I do. I'm very lucky and blessed. Whenever I moved into the
Did we just become best friends?
Matt, thanks for following on Twitch, man. We've had more Twitch follows today than we have had YouTube subscribers. So that's awesome. Thank you, Twitch. Yeah, I do work from home. I'm very blessed that I get to work from home. When I worked in food, I had to work at the factory. Okay, cool. So now we've got a way to increase the font. We got a way to decrease the font. We can also use keybinds to do that. Let's see on Notepad. And then I kind of like the idea of having a restore. Yeah, so let's do one of those. Zoom, restore default zoom is control 0. Okay, we can map that keybind too. So let's go back to our let's go back over here. And let's map this to say view action. Go to the definition, and we're going to say reset font. That. Then we'll say reset font. Can you make an option that you can change how much it decreases the font and increase? I guess you could. I don't know what the flow would be. What would you do? Like display a modal or something? Like click increase and then have the option to do by so much? You could. I think you'd probably end up just using the keyboard shortcuts more than anything. I'd like to implement scrolling too, because Notepad has support for scrolling. So Notepad will actually let you hold control and then scroll the mouse wheel to increase the font, which I'd like to implement, but I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet. So we haven't gone down that path. But yeah, I think I could definitely do that. Novpa. What's the best code editor for React TS Vue? You might just start with Visual Studio Code, in my opinion. Probably be a good place to start. Specifics for your projects, RE, the plugins you showed. Oh, you can find if you type !neovim, Mr. E, in the chat, one of my bots will give you the links to my NeoVim configurations. !neovim, Neovim. Do you have a GitHub repo for the project? I do. You can type !GitHub, and that'll take you to my profile page, and you can go to my repositories from there. I guess I can also link you to the direct place. Let's see. One sec. I can get it for you. There you go. I think I might have put it in the. Oh, actually, I don't think I have it in the description anymore. I need to put it back. Let's see. Who was asking about that? Hey, Abdil. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Somebody was asked. Oh, that was on Twitch, wasn't it? Charles. @Charles. Here's the specific. I saw that you got my GitHub profile, but you can also get the specific repo link right there if you're interested. Aerobic. I wish GitHub makes it so that you can tweet or post about your repo so they can get more attention. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if GitHub's really a place for generating a lot of attention, you know? I think GitHub's an interesting place for developers because we're interested in that stuff. I have no interest though to build things that developers find interesting. I just think creating products for developers sounds like a horrible experience. It really does. I don't know why anybody would want to be in charge of maintaining something that developers use. All right, what are we doing now? We have to implement the new font. So let's say right F reset font. Also, I'm going to make these all okay, and then we got to go down here and we got to do fill match. And what are we going to do here? All we need to do here is we just say state.editor font size equals default font. I guess we don't have that as a constant. We should have a default editor font size. That's what we should have. So let's go to the top. Do a new one. Const default editor font size like this. This is U32. 16. We'll jump down to the bottom of the file. We'll use that down here, default, like that. And let's also add a keybind. So Control 0. So we'll say is reset font. This method needs to be cleaned up. I know this is not a good practice. This is going to be 0. We're looking for this character, like that. And then we'll say if, let's see, if is reset font, we want to return basically the same thing that's here, but instead of increase font, we want to dispatch a reset font. Look at us, we're implementing new features. I'm officially a Rust developer now. We can update my resume. I would like to contribute, but don't know shit about Rust. That's all right, you know. The only way you get better is to try to contribute, right? To try to build stuff. That's the only way you can get better at something. Okay, the reset works with the keybinds, and it should also work with the menu. Fantastic. So we have file options, we have menu options. So the next thing I think I'd like to try to tackle before we get too much further into this project is I do think I'd like to be able to support something like multiple tabs. I think that's a really nice experience to be able to have multiple tabs like that. So the question is how would I do? These are almost like buttons, basically, is what these are. And they're sort of rendered out at the top of the menu. And when you get too many of them, they shrink. And then you get these buttons that do the scrolling effect. So the question is, how do I implement a tabbed menu like this in iced? Right? That's the question. I'm not really sure how I do that. But I guess we're gonna try to figure it out. We're gonna try to figure it out. So let's go to our code here and let's take a look at what we got going on. So in our view, okay, so in our view, we basically need another row above the file menu. That's going to be kind of like our tabs. Let tabs equals container. And this will be a row. And I think this row is going to consist of essentially a bunch of buttons is what it's going to consist of. Right? And so let's go ahead and use the tabs here. Where are we? We got the status bar, we got the action bar, put the tabs here. And so we're basically gonna have to keep track of what files we have opened, right? So that we can restore them into the view based on when somebody clicks on the tab, right? So imagine this is our view right here. And then we tab over here and we say world. We basically want to keep track of, okay, this is a particular file on disk somewhere. And when we switch tabs, We just want to restore the state. Now the question is, do we want this loaded in memory all the time, or do we want to... Because I could see this working a couple different ways. I could see this working where we have like a list. I could see this where we have like a list of like, you know, file path. We have the file path. We have the content. Whoops. We have file path, content, and then we have multiple of those. But I could also see a world where we just keep track of the file path, and whenever you click the tab button, we just restore, we load in the file. I think maybe I'll do that approach first before I do something else. I think is what I'll try. But I think before we do anything, let's just see if we can't render out a set of buttons. So let's go to the iStocks and see how we render a button. Hello, Ilmanian. Welcome. Good to see you, sir. Holding it down over there on Twitch for us as usual. Appreciate you. Twitch is pretty quiet most days. How many people? We have 6 viewers on Twitch right now, it seems like. Which is actually, somebody said that's pretty strong viewership for Twitch. So I'll take it. I'll take it. But thank you, Ilmadian, for being there, man. Appreciate you. Let's see, button. The button of a mouse. Buttons allow your users to perform actions by pressing them. A generic widget that produces a message when pressed. The style of a button. Default padding. Subtle success. Background danger. So button, press me, on press, message.
Did we just become best friends?
Thanks, Raphael, for following me on Twitch, man. That's super nice of you. I really appreciate you guys who like hang out on YouTube, going over to Twitch, and then coming back to YouTube and going. Like, I really appreciate that. It's very kind of you guys to do that. So let's just say we have a tab, let tab equals button.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Hey, thanks for subscribing. You didn't have to do that, Raphael. You did not have to subscribe on Twitch, man. That is not necessary, but thank you very much. Let me update you so you're on the list of folks over there. Give me one sec. Yeah, the Prime sub. Well, that's very kind of you, man. That's unbelievably generous of you. Let's see, update list. We've got to do .NET, Twitch. Okay, and then you guys are going to see a black screen for just a second. So, just 1 second. Black screen incoming in 3, 2, 1. You're going to the void. Alright. And you're coming back from the void in 3, 2, 1. You've returned. Hello, crew. Good to see you. Mystery, I prefer widescreen, but Twitch was delayed and blurry for me for some reason, so I came back. Well, thanks for coming over. Thanks for coming back to YouTube. Appreciate you. I don't know why Twitch is behaving like that for you. Everything looks fine on my end. So if there was a button I could push to make it better, I would, but everything looks okay over here. I don't like this music. Grand Admiral Thrawn, why your tabs say PowerShell instead of an actual file name? Because this is a tab in Windows Terminal. It's not a tab in like an editor. So Windows Terminal allows you to run multiple different shells within the same instance. So if I wanted to have a Ubuntu shell open and an Azure Cloud shell and a Windows PowerShell, I could have all those different shells open within the same terminal. So that's why it says PowerShell at the top. I just happen to have NeoVim open in PowerShell, but they're two different things. Crew, how's the project going? It's going well so far, man. Yeah, this is what it looks like. We've got a. It's starting to actually look somewhat like an application. We have a logo. We have key bindings. We can increase the font size. We can decrease the font size. We can reset the font size. We haven't got to any of the interesting bits, I think, where we're going to actually try to display Markdown. But that'll be coming. What we're going to try to do now is we're going to try to build a tabbed interface so that we can support multiple files. So that's what we're going to try to do next. Let's see. So this would be file 1. All right, let's see if we get a button to render. Excuse me. Steven, you're showing nicely how you want the tabs, but that is not visible on the YouTube version. Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting on the vertical stream. Yeah, so we want the tabs like this. Sorry. We want the tabs to look like this. So just that way we can have multiple files open. That's what we're going to try to do. Sorry, I realized I had it off to the side. This is the problem with dual format streaming is you have to remember that even though now you're thinking about a full screen, there's still people who cannot see the full screen. It's a struggle. I wish YouTube would improve their dual format experience. I wish they would make it better, but it's pretty shitty at the moment. TikTok's dual streaming format's really nice because basically they pump out your video and they send it, and if you're scrolling, they put it in their vertical, and if you turn your phone, then it becomes the horizontal version. Okay, so that's my button. So then the idea would be to try to make this appear. I mean, I don't know. The appearance thing is something I still have to figure out, but the idea would be to try to make the appearance appear like it's tabbed. So on press, this would then switch between the different files, is what it would do. So we basically need to keep track of yeah, we basically need to keep track of which are open and which are closed. And then not only that, but we also need to be able to close them. Right? So not only do we need this button, but we almost need a button inside a button. All right, I'm just going to start plotting ahead. So I think what we're going to need is we're going to need a list of file. I almost think we're gonna need a new struct. excuse me, we're going to need a new struct to represent a file. And that file can have a path that can or cannot have a path, right? So if you have a new file, it could not have a path, right? But it will have content. So that's where we'll have to have content text editor content. I think this is a bad idea from a memory perspective, because then you could end up with a bunch of stuff in memory, right? And then here you'd have a list of files. I'm kind of wondering, maybe a better way to represent this would be a dictionary. I'm gonna start with this, and then we can refactor. So how would I define a list of files? Let's see. I don't know how to do that in Rust. I don't know how to do that in Rust. How to type something as a list of structs in Rust. Hash map, yeah, maybe something like, I'm thinking maybe that makes more sense to have like the path be the keys and then the content be the values. But the only thing that's interesting about that is, like, in the case when you have a new file, you know, like in the case of like Notepad, when you add one, it just automatically inserts untitled as a placeholder. But I'm not sure in a hash map how you would distinguish these from one another. I don't know. I'm gonna start with this approach, and then if this doesn't seem like it's a good idea, we'll refactor it. So we need a vector. Okay, so vec of type file. Vec, like this. Okay. And then the question becomes, fields in this struct is dead. Well, not dead. It's not dead code quite yet. We are going to use them. Where am I trying to get to? I'm trying to get to the view function. All right, so let's say when this thing loads, let's have a files. And how do I new up a vector? To store multi, yep, okay. So we say vector new, and we give it a type. And then we can create the instances, and then add the users to the list, okay? Or you can initialize it with the vec macro. Okay, so let's just set some default so we can see how this is going to work. So we'll say vec, and then we'll say file, and we'll say path buff. Is going to be equal to sum, and we'll say path buff from stir, and we'll just do, let's actually use some actual pass on my machine. So let's just do demo. Copy as path. Now this needs some content. This will be text editor content new. Like this. Now why is this complaining? Oh. We'll say expect bad path. There we go. Sorry guys, I've fallen behind on chat a little bit. Here we go, let me catch up for a sec. Tailwind Labs, the laid off 75% of its engineering staff. What do you think? I made a video about this. I think that it's really shitty that you're seeing AI swallow up people's businesses. And why I say AI swallowed up their business is because they basically said that. They said that essentially their website traffic is down because nobody goes to their documentation site anymore to figure out how to use Tailwind, which is where they got most of their leads for their paid products. And then on top of that, I think it's kind of shitty that developers are not willing to financially support the maintenance or upkeep of all of the products that they depend so heavily on. They basically want Tailwind CSS to be free and available to use and constantly updated and maintained, but they don't want to have to pay for it. So I think it's very shitty, but I'm not sure what you're, I'm not sure what you're going to do about that. Gave good separation so they have time to find a new job. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they did right by him, but I think it's kind of crappy. It's just a crappy situation all around. I'm not sure what you do. You basically have to build a business that's AI proof, right? And I guess the only way you can build a business that's AI proof is you have to prevent people from getting a hold of the intellectual property that you produce, and you have to kind of pay gate and paywall it and not be so willing to give away things in the public domain, I guess. I'm not sure what else you could do to prevent that happening to your business. Yeah. Yeah, I feel terrible for, I mean, I can't imagine what that's like. I mean, I've owned a business and run a business, but I've never had employees of my business. They've always been solo run endeavors. And so I can't imagine what that feels like to have employees who are dependent on you for their livelihood, and you have to go to them and look them in the face and say, sorry guys, I can't take care of you and your family anymore. I can't afford to pay you guys. It must be an awful experience from both sides of the table. But what makes it even sadder is the fact that Tailwind is more popular and getting more use than ever before, right? So that's the disconnect, and that's why building developer tools and things for developers is such a shitty business model, and it's such a shitty business to be in, is because developers basically expect everything for nothing. And as things get more popular, there's no direct correlation between things becoming popular and your economic benefit, especially now in the age of AI, where a lot of the ways you can make money historically in software was by providing done for you examples of the thing that you're building, right? And now AI can sort of stitch that stuff together and has kind of commodified some of that. So it's really, I think the only way Tailwind is going to have success is they're going to have to do what a lot of the .NET projects did this year, like AutoMapper, and I think Wolverine did it. What was the other project? Mediator. I think what they're going to have to do is they're going to have maybe an open source permissive license for non-commercial use. But if you're using Tailwind for commercial use, you're going to have a commercial license. I don't think there's any other way to build a sustainable software model in the age of AI without some sort of licensure. What does Tailwind do? Yeah, Tailwind. Yeah, it exactly what Raphael does. It's basically a way to write CSS and style things without having to write CSS. You can just use. It's almost like Bootstrap. If you ever heard of Bootstrap, it's like a utility first CSS framework, but very extensible, very flexible. It's a very nice tool. Yeah, almost everything uses it. Like all vibe coding uses it. Like anything V0 produces. Most front ends use Tailwind these days. Yeah, it's very very popular. So I think that's where Adam. If I had to imagine, that's probably what Adam ends up doing. Is he ends up maybe putting out a new version of Tailwind with updated licensing terms. I just don't know how else you build a sustainable business around that. Or you make it closed source, right? You make it closed source and you sell it. But the crazy thing is the crazy thing about Tailwind is it's not just like solo indie devs using it. It's like huge companies, like big ass corporations that are building with it. So it's almost like there shouldn't be a reason why Adam can't support his project. These companies should be able to. I mean, $1 million from Google wouldn't even notice $1 million off their books, but it would probably allow Tailwind to operate without much stress for the foreseeable future. Say $1 million a year, and you could probably get $1 million a year from multiple big tech companies, and those big tech companies would never know. But Tailwind CSS would be maintainable for the foreseeable future. While we're in chatting mode, did you get wind of the open code and Claude code situation? I did not. What's going on over there? What drama lies ahead? I watched the Primogen Vibe coding streams where he basically shat all over Claude Code and said open code is a way better product, which it looked like a way better product. I've never used either of them, but open code looked like a better product. Bob Knoll, I've used the Tailwind docs. I had no idea they had a paid product. It's buried too far down the docs. Plus, needs to be front and center. Yeah, I'm sure they could do a better job marketing their paid products, but I don't. I think the vast majority of people who use Tailwind don't want to pay for Tailwind. Like they're not going to pay for Tailwind unless you make them pay for Tailwind. I think that's how most developers are in general. Most developers want free software, free tools, and free software, and they want it all to do exactly what they want to do. Raphael Tab. So you're not allowed to use open code with Claude Pro Max stuff anymore. Huh. And why is that? That's just they don't want open code competing, I guess, with Claude Pro or with the Claude code tool. I mean, I guess that shows a good example of why when you depend on services, when the underlying service provider you depend on has no onus to actually supply you with the raw materials you need to build your product, you're kind of at a risk for being supplanted. I mean, we all pretend like these AI companies are ambivalent forces for good, but they're not. They're corporations. They're out to make some money. The whole internet is on its head, screaming at Claude for being greedy bastards. Laughed my ass off. Well, there's only so much compute. There's only so much compute, and I'm guessing Anthropic would much rather their code CLI tool be the ones consuming that compute than somebody else's, right? Because open code is making money off of using their API and consuming their tokens and their compute, but none of that. While they are being paid for the compute by open code, I'm sure the margin on that compute is not as good as the margin on the Claude Code Pro Max plan. It's always been against Anthropic's TOS, but they suddenly cracked down Friday. Well, there you go. Terms of service, man. The lawyers are there for a reason. The United States is, we have lawyers here for a reason. I think it's if they detect using it for commercial gain, banning everyone. Yeah. Well, I don't know what you expect. I mean, I'm not gonna say Anthropic's in the wrong. They're a business. Am I gonna say it's not shady? It's probably not. It's probably shady, but they're a business, man. I don't know what else. I don't know why anybody would be surprised. The same thing has played out time and time again on other platforms. How many times has Windows done it, or not Windows? Microsoft has done it. Facebook's done it. All big companies do it. Platform companies always do that. They say, hey, developers, come build on our platform. And then the minute something becomes a killer app, they either copy it and steal it and wall it off, or they choke off the company that's building the killer app. That's just how these things work. Open code isn't making money, though. 100% is going to Anthropic. I guarantee Open's code making some money, Bob. Like, open code wouldn't be in, like, how would open code be operational if they weren't, you know what I mean? They're making some amount of money from their product. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They did just start making open code black, which is similar to Claude Max 20x in pricing limits. Oh, so what you guys are saying is open code is just a tool, and you can bring your own API key type of thing. Is what you guys are saying about open code not making money. You're saying open code is just a tool, and they're building it in open source, and if you want to use it with whatever tool, with whatever provider, you can. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Bob. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So that seems so, but they launched but what Raphael's saying is they launched a competing service. So that maybe that's the reason for the crackdown, right? It's like it was fine as long as open code was just a open source tool, right? But the minute now open code is like in competition with us, now we're taking issue. Maybe that was the driving force. Yeah, maybe it was the subscription service then that put them on Anthropic's radar. Yeah, well, I'm sure there's a bunch of tech Twitter people whining about it, but there's nothing to whine about. It's a business, man. I mean, you're using a service. You have no contractual obligation with Anthropic for that service, right? I think that that's business. Is it shitty? Yes, but business has always been shitty. I mean, that's just how it is. I don't think it was the cause. Claude started cracking down about 2 weeks ago before the launch of the sub service. Oh, interesting. So I wonder what the driving force was then. They said it was because of telemetry issues or something like that. Weird shit. So like load, I guess, load or compute on their infrastructure. Well, again, I don't. It's like what you don't own the raw material, right? If you don't own the compute, you don't own the LLM. I think this is an example of the vulnerability of becoming dependent, right, on a single provider or a single LLM. They're able to dictate the terms of how you use their thing. And local LLMs are still a ways off unless you have really, really good local hardware to run them. It's a shitty situation, but I'm not sure I would have expected them
Welcome
to
to the party,
act
pal.
any different. Hey, what's up, Marty? You became a sub? Thanks, man. Appreciate that. That's super, super kind, man. Let me update the list. Get your name up on the screen, okay? Really, really appreciate you. Let's see. I've also wanted my founder's badge. Well, hey, you got it, man. Thanks so much. It's very kind. It's super, super kind. Let me get you up on the screen. All right, I'm banishing you guys to the void again. 1 second. You'll come right back. Okay, I promise. All right, you're coming back. 3, 2, 1, and you have returned. Oh, wrong scene. I think it's going to lose Claude customers as well instead of driving people back to Claude Code. I don't know, Raphael. I think I'll take the other side. I think it will lose some customers.
Thank you for being impressive, Steven.
Dude, that's so kind, man. Thank you very much. I don't know if I'm impressive, but thank you so much for the super chat. That's very kind of you. I think Raphael, I understand what you're saying about Claude losing customers. I do think it will off-put some people, but I think people are hooked on agentic development. There are people out there right now who are hooked on programming with AI, and they can't program without it. And so even though they can't get it through open code, they'll just go back to Claude Code because they want access to Opus 4.5, and the only body that can provide access to Opus 4.5 is Anthropic. Aerobic. I heard there are modders in China who can install more VRAM in a GPU with a very low cost. Interesting. Very interesting. Hey man, what made you learn Rust? Bob Knoll, the guy right above you in chat or right below you in chat, Bob Knoll, he peer pressured me into learning Rust. Also, good to see you, creatives. Hope you're doing well. Bob Knoll, it's already fixed though. Anthropic walked back the bans. Open code works with the same API token again. Oh, so the people's rebellion actually worked this time. Interesting. Dina, hi sir. Whether open code can be used in production with policy governance grade? I don't know anything about open code, so I don't know about using open code. Are you talking about open code like the tool that we've been talking about? Or are you talking about like open source code in production? I can't tell exactly, Dina, but I'm happy to try to answer your question. That's right, yeah, but they can use Opus through other providers or the Anthropic API just fine. It just costs money. Yeah, that's true. I don't know, man. I don't know where it'll shake out. I think sometimes people are very loud about their dislike for companies, but the fact of the matter is, like, Chick-fil-A is still a big business. Netflix is still a big business. Facebook is still a huge business. Like, people are usually very publicly, very vocal about what they don't like about businesses, but how they spend their dollars doesn't always match their moral or ethical convictions that they claim to have. Dina, thanks, sir. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm happy to try to answer your question. I just don't know if I 100% understand the question you're asking. Mark, Sunday live. Woo. By the way, good eve or good morning. It is good morning here, and to you as well. Good eve or good morning, whichever one it is for you. Yeah, we're always live on Sunday. You know, we're live every day of the week, pretty much. There's the thing. Here's the thing about streaming at 4:15 a.m. is there's nothing else competing for the time slot. Right? It's like, what else are you going to be doing at 4:15 in the morning other than maybe working out? But I'll do that later today. So there's really not a good reason for me to miss a stream other than maybe travel, I guess, you know? But as long as I have the fortitude to get up in the morning, I'll be here. Lovely. Yes, lovely indeed. We're right now, we're hacking on that Rust application. So we're trying to support multiple files is what we're trying to do now. Who works out at 4 a.m.? David Goggins? Probably. Probably. David Goggins probably works out at 4 a.m. because he's been up since like 8 p.m. running or something, you know. I don't even think David Goggins sleeps. All the other food places even tried to make chicken sandwiches to take advantage of the Chick-fil-A drama, but Chick-fil-A is still winning. Yeah. Yes, exactly. I mean, again, that's like people are often very vocal on the internet about what they dislike and what they don't agree with and how much they hate this company and how much they hate that company and how this company's business practice, and then they just they they go to those places and they spend the money and they still support those businesses. So very few people have the willingness to actually like live their life and spend their money alongside their ethical and moral convictions. Um, they're just people just like to be loud. David Goggins, surely a very committed man. Oh, David Goggins is a freaking beast, dude. He is. I'm not even sure David Goggins is an actual human being. He's some other form of Homo sapien. Put your money where your mouth is. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's like the other day when I was talking about whether or not people care about you in your life. Like, people will have a lot of opinions about how you should live your life, but I'll tell you what, whenever I've been in dire straits, none of those people have showed up to pay my rent or help me with my credit card bills or help me fix my car when it's broken down. Like, lots of people have lots of opinions and are very vocal about a lot of things, but um, their actions very seldomly match their words. very, very seldomly. Uh, this is the world we live in. Okay, why are we complaining? Path and content. Okay, so this is where we need to actually use these. When the rubber hits the road, you're right, David Bailey. I'm telling you, it is so true, and that's why I am so. I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. I. That's why you have to live your life on your own terms, man. You've got to live your life on your own terms. Let's see. So let's do. How do I add things to a row? So let's say I have a tab row, right? And I say row like this. Does tab row expose a method for adding stuff to it? So we have into. Or push. Adds an element to the row. Yeah, so that's what we want to do. So then let's say we have the tab row. And then let's say we're going to loop over the list of files in our state. So we'll say for state dot files. We're going to push tab row dot push file dot path as the content, like this. And then we are going to do tabs row. Oops, tab. Oh, sorry. We're going to do button file dot path like this. Oh, that's because it's an option. So what we actually want to do is we want to do if file dot path equals sum. like this. Oh, this is where I have to do a match. I think I have to do a match. Mister, have you ever done a multi-tenancy application before? I'm exploring which method I need and want to use single DB or multi-DB for tenants. You could do a single DB. I personally kind of like the idea of multiple DBs, though. I think that's kind of nice to not have to worry about commingling tenant data. I also think it makes it much simpler if you ever want to provide users with an export of their data. It's much easier to get, I think, all of their data to them if you just dump out a database that's unique to that particular tenant. Obviously, though, that does complicate your infrastructure and your setup a little bit. I think it just depends on what you want to do. 199 Ola. Hello, 199. Good to see you. I thought we were all talking about Walton Goggins, the actor. Never heard of David Goggins. Oh, David Goggins. Yeah, if you never heard of David Goggins, just YouTube David Goggins and spend the next hour getting super, super motivated. Using a single DB lowers their costs. That's a good consideration. Using multiple DBs has better isolation. Yeah, and 9 times out of 10, that's what you're most concerned with. I feel like in a multi-tenant application is there's this constant concern of like people getting access to things they shouldn't have access to, and commingling one person's data with another person's data, right? So I kind of feel like the multiple DB setup is ideal, but again, I understand that adds complexity. If anyone can suggest me any book or resource to learn data modeling, DB design, it would be a lot of help. I don't have anything to recommend. Maybe someone in chat does, but I don't have anything to recommend at the moment. Let's see. How to can you discriminate an option in Rust using an if statement? No, an if statement cannot be used to discriminate the variance if conditional flow constantly values its Boolean condition. Okay. If you only care about the sum variable and want to do nothing if it's none, if let construct. Yeah, this is what I want. If let, that's what I want. If let. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this. Whoops. I don't know why I jumped to the top of the file. Why is typing tab keeps taking me to the top of the file? Why is that? Seems like a new thing. So let's see. We're gonna do file.path. And this is gonna be p. This is gonna be p something or other. P dot to lossy string. I think this is a type issue. Button. Use of mood value. So you can't add things to the row? Move occurs because tab row has type copy. So let's see. Iced.rust build up list of elements. Map each string reference to a text widget. Convert into text widget. Okay, so do I need to call into on this? Maybe this needs to call into. I know there's some sort of type inference that's screwing me up at the moment. Maybe I have to type this. Let's see. What happens if I put a button in here? What's the type? What's the inferred type? If I put a button in there. I do not know how to do this. So we're going to go use some AI. If you tried to join Discord, Steven has to approve. Oh, yep. Sorry. I can do that real quick. I just have an application on there to keep some of the riffraff out of the server. You're in. You're in, good sir. Alright, we need to find the iced repository. Iced.rs on GitHub. Here we go. All right, Copilot's going to help me with this one. I'm a noob when it comes to Rust and using this particular GUI framework. So I am hoping you can be my subject matter expert and base all your responses in the repository I provided in your context. I am trying to build up a row of buttons from a list of strings. What is the proper way to do this? Currently, I am creating a new row using the row macro and then trying to iterate over the list of strings new up a button and push it onto the row. This doesn't seem to be correct, though. Someone try to connect with me on LinkedIn? Or is LinkedIn just spamming me with alerts? I tell you what, LinkedIn sends the most irrelevant alerts. It's like so-and-so replied to so-and-so. All right, in ICE, row and column are designed to work well with iterators. Since you are dealing with a dynamic list of strings, the most idiomatic way is to use the row helper function or row with children combined with an iterator map rather than imperatively pushing to a mutable row in a loop. Here's the proper way to do this. Okay, row strings.iter map using row with children iter. Why your approach felt incorrect. You mentioned you were trying to new up a row and push. The reason this often feels clunky in ICE is that row push consumes self and returns a new row method chaining pattern. The functional approach avoids the mutable state reassignment, making it preferred pattern in the ICE. Okay, so I can actually make my approach work if I turn this into a mutable value. And then okay. Interesting. Now this is complaining. Why is this complaining? I don't know what this error means. And I have no idea what this generic error message is crazy. I don't know what does this mean? I don't know what this means. This is where my Rust knowledge has reached its limits. Can you explain to me what the hell this generic error message is saying to me in Rust? Boil it or explain it like I'm an idiot. I'm an expert prompt engineer. I don't know if you guys knew this, but explain to me like an idiot is an exceptionally good prompt. ELI 5. Hey Steven, can you accept me in Discord? I think I did, didn't I? Or are you a new? Sorry, are you someone else? Yes, I'd be happy to accept you into the Discord. No, Siri, I'm not talking to you. Stop it. I'm not talking to you. Oh yeah, we got 2 people wanting to get in. Nice. You're approved, Charles. And Keith, you're in too as well? You're in, brother. Welcome to the Discord. Let's see, you're trying to put raw text where the code expects a widget. You are likely trying to do something like row.pushMyString or returning a string in your view function. Rust is saying, I don't know how to return a raw string into UI element automatically. The trait bound is not satisfied. I checked the rulebook. This is illegal. Rust looks for a specific rule that says here's how you turn a string into an element. It couldn't find that rule. Therefore, you cannot simply drop a string into your layout. You need to wrap your string into a text widget. The text widget is an element. I mean, there is a text wrapper, but why does this work? I'm guessing these are different things. This is a string. Okay, so why then, let me interrogate Gemini a little bit. So why then does, if you already have a string variable, so why does passing a constant string to the button function like this, why does this work? Steven, can you paste that error in Discord, then I can actually read it? Yeah, I mean, I can. Siri wants to join Discord. Siri did want to join Discord. I'm not. Oh shit, we triggered all of the devices. Oh my goodness. This is a great question. Exposes one of the most annoying subtle details in Rust, the difference between a string slice and an owned string. The short answer is because hello is not a string. Hello is a string slice. Your variable was a string, a heap allocated text object. The library authors wrote a specific shortcut rule for stir, but they did not write that same shortcut rule for string. Okay, this means the library explicitly told Rust if you see a string slice like hello, automatically wrap it in a text widget for the user. So you can say as stir, and that will fix it. Okay. As stir, or to string, and then as stir. Oh, it worked. Oh no, what? Temporary value created here. So why does that matter? Why does that matter? Rust temporary value created here. This happens because the temporary value only lives until the end of the current statement, and the reference you create would then become a dangly pointer. Man, I'm learning all about Rust just by trying to put some text into a button. Okay. So if I take the other approach, and I could also do this. I think I could do this. Okay, so that was happy, but now this is unhappy. Cannot move out of state.files, which is behind a shared reference. Move occurs because state.files has type. State.files move to the explicit call to into iter. Consider iterating over a slice of the vec file content to avoid moving this into the for loop. So you're saying do this. Okay, and then consider borrowing. This is, I'm running into all the borrow checking stuff, aren't I? Okay, now we have button. God dang, man. I tell you what, this was the most painful. And now this guy's complaining. Yeah, this should have snake case. Okay, so I think I got some homework to do. I'm just going to actually, I'm going to take a note with my, I'm going to take a note with my notepad alternative, ZoAE. And ZoAE, the reason why that's the name of the application is because that's the name for a baby crab, which I am. I am a baby rustacean. Hey, look, there's my button. Okay, so let's take, I need to better understand ownership and borrowing for sure. I need to better understand string verse stir. Homework.txt. Okay, so then the idea would be that we'd have a list of buttons, right, that go across the top of our screen, and we probably, instead of using the full file path name, we probably just want to use the file name. But the idea would be if I click on this button, we would load it. We would show it in the editor, like we would change the context. So let's see if we can get that to work real quick. So how do we do that? I guess we have to put a handler on these buttons. So we say on press. like that. Excuse me. Steven, can you hold on? Yeah, the text which it implements from ampersand stir, but not from string, which means it just doesn't know how to use a string, but it knows how to use an ampersand stir. You might even be able to do okay, button text. The from trait allows the user of the variable to call into to turn that variable into their own thing. I see. So if you have a from path implemented for your file and you accept an into file as a function argument, you can pass in a string as the argument to that function. Okay, so this is all, but this is all kind of this is all a symptom of the whole generic interface ability of Rust, right? That's what I was running into there. Is basically the library authors have implemented some of these like generic interfaces for doing things, and in that case, it just didn't. They haven't implemented a way. They haven't implemented a contract to say we know how to deal with strings. We only know how to deal with a slice of strings. Uh-oh, my music died. Well, in any event, we have our button. So now what we need to do is we need to register a handler, right? So what do we want to say? So let's define a new file action. Well, so what we're going to do is we're going to dispatch a file action selected, and we're going to dispatch the open. Or no, we're going to dispatch load. So file action load. Yeah, because open actually opens the dialog, and we don't really want to open the dialog. We just want to populate the state of the editor. So is that really a file action? I don't know. But let's just try it. So we don't need to display it though. Yeah, we don't need to display it. Okay, actually here. Let's not put it there. Let's just have a separate message, dedicated message, and we'll say, for now, we'll just say message switch tab. Like that. And we probably need to pass in I guess we want to pass in the path, right? That's what we need to know. Or the index maybe of the file. So how do I get the index of the file in a for loop? Let's see. Rust for loop get index. Okay. What do I want to do here? I guess I'm trying to think of like, I guess what I want to do is I want to say message switch tab, and I want to provide the path. Which means up here, I need to provide a path buff. Now this is going to a tuple variant defined here. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means. Now this is obviously going to be complaining. So my thought is that we would do something like this, where we are going to print line load in file. The question is, I'm not sure why. Oh, that's fine. I think that's fine. Field in this struct. Field, okay, we're not using that yet. All right, let's see if this works. So basically, we just want to see if our clicking the button dispatches our message. That's what we want to see. Then you say switch tab unique index. Yeah, see, that's exactly what I was thinking too. Or like you said, yeah, use a hash map. Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think the way I've done this is the right way, so we need to do some refactoring. You can also keep a separate tab order that keeps the order of the tabs to more easily allow reordering the tab. That's a great idea. Because I think, does Notepad let you do that? Yeah, see, Notepad lets you drag. I'm not even sure how I would implement the dragging and dropping, but that would be pretty sweet to have in there too. I like that idea. All right, so this should hopefully print a message when we click. Cool. Now we just need to actually put that into the state of the editor. So let's do that next. The question I still have is, should we hold on to the content in memory, or should we just always load that? I think the reason we have to hold on to the content is because the user, we don't want to unload the content if the user had typed something and they hadn't saved it yet, right? Because if we don't hold on to it and they don't save it to disk, then they basically lose their data when they switch tabs right now with the way I have this implemented. So we have to we basically have to hold on to this in memory to some extent. I don't think there's a way around that. I mean, I guess we could save stuff to temp files behind the scenes, right? We could persist stuff into temp files. And then whenever they save, just clear anything clear any temp files out that are older than the most recent save or something like that. I mean, we could do that. I'm not sure what the right answer is there. So then what we'd want to do here is we'd want to say file content equals load file from disk, and we pass in the path. And then we're going to set state dot content equals file content. Found struct string. Okay, I know I do this somewhere else already. Oh, so I have to say content with text. Okay, so we say text editor content with text, and we pass in the file content. Then we have to borrow it. And then we're also going to say state path equals some path. Use of move value. Oh, to clone it again. A lot of cloning happening. Oh, that's because this. We need to clone here. I think cloning is probably not the best option. I think it's probably a lazy way that I'm getting around some of my lack of knowledge about things. Thickam Van Win. I don't know how to say your username, but hello, good to have you here. All right, so time moment of truth here. We click this button, it should load us a file. Hey, looky there. Okay. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to handle the cases where, let's say we have, first of all, we need to display just the text name. Woohoo, let's go. Hey, no, right? Yeah, let's go. So now what we need to do is we need to display multiple tabs, and then we need to handle that case and add scrolling with buttons, right? So that's what Notepad does. Notepad, once you get to a certain number of tabs open, it basically scrolls. So we need to have some way of limiting and basically paging through the tabs that we display. And then we also need to implement some way to know that this is your current tab. Like, we need to style these buttons differently based on whether that tab's file is loaded, right? So you can kind of, that way you can tell the difference between what's an active tab and what's not an active tab. So let's add a couple to-dos in our code real quick. I'm just going to put them at the top of the file. There's a few things we need to do. So to do, need to reconsider the way we are holding on to files. Maybe vec is not best. To do, we need to style the button tabs according to which is currently focused in the editor. We need to need to handle having more tabs than can be displayed in the container given its current width. Increase font, decrease font, we've got file actions, we've got the tab. And so then what we can do with the tab, once we have the tab UI implemented, then we can implement a new file function. Yeah, a new file function. Oh, we might also want to be able to open separate windows. Separate windows would be cool. I wonder how we do that in Iced. That'd be a fun feature to add. To do handle creating new files. To do opening another window. Yeah, that's all good stuff. But I feel like we made good progress today, so let's remove that. We're not using it yet. We don't need it. That was fun. But I'm hungry now. I'm hungry and I want more coffee. Let's see, implement. Well, actually, hold on. I can do this in lazy. Yeah, I keep forgetting. Commit. You don't have any stage files. There you go. Feature. Implement. Font reset. And whip on tab. Let's see. Implemented the ability to reset the font size along with corresponding corresponding keybind. Added initial tab using buttons and on click loading file into editor state. Let's see, A enter. That's not what I wanted. How do I do this? There we go. All right. Look at us, chat. We actually were doing some work today. We actually got some stuff done. It wasn't as much as I would have got done if I had been using Opus 4.5 to do all the work for me, but we got some stuff done. Ryan's still going? Yeah, we're still going, but we're wrapping up now. Got to make an agent that makes commits for you. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Probably going to want to make some custom widget tab navigation button in tab navigation. I haven't even gotten into what it takes to make a custom widget. Is it hard to make a custom widget? Excuse me. Getting her done. Yeah, we're getting her done. We're slowly learning. I mean, it is nice when you have a project like that and you start running into features of the language that you don't understand. It very clearly identifies like gaps in your knowledge because you're like, okay, so how do I loop? Oh, how do I have a list of stuff? Oh, I have to figure out what the difference is between a string and a string slice, right? It very clearly identifies for you what things you need to spend time on. Iced_AW has a bunch of extra widgets. Okay, I'll check that out for sure. Raphael, never used Ice before, not gonna lie. Okay, yeah. Well, we'll see. A custom widget would be good. Ryan, well, damn. Enjoy the rest of your day. Of course, you too, Ryan. Thanks for stopping by, man. Thanks for being a member too. Appreciate you. All right, chat. I'm hungry. It's 8 o'clock. It's Sunday. I'm gonna go upstairs and eat some breakfast, drink some coffee, see my family, watch some football, lift some weights. I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday. I'll do my normal wrap up. Okay, so good stream. See you tomorrow. Thanks, Bob. So my normal wrap up is if you're new here and you want to interact with us outside of stream, the best place to find us is Discord. Discord.stephenfreeborn.com. We'd love to have you over there. There's no pressure. You don't need to come, but if you want to, you're more than welcome. If you'd like to just hang out on stream with us again in the future, I'm live almost every day here on YouTube or on Twitch from 4:15 a.m. to 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. I just put my schedule in the chat so you can see it there. What else? Yeah, I think that's it. We're just going to keep doing more of this for the next couple of weeks, just learning Rust and trying to build an application with it. And hopefully at the end of those couple of weeks, we have a little utility that I can use in place of Notepad, maybe render some nice markdown for me, and I'll hopefully know a little bit of Rust. So that's the plan. Bob Knoll, 10.1k subs, numbers are flying. Let's go, exponential growth. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to keep up, man. I'm still concerned that I'm going to wake up one day and everyone's going to be unsubbed. But I do appreciate those of you who come back very regularly and hang out on stream. It makes my streams so much more fun and so much more enjoyable. So thank you very much. Shadul. Sorry if I butchered your username. 10K. Yep. Woohoo. We made it. We crossed the 10K barrier. Yep. I appreciate you guys a lot. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. Supporting my channel. Crew. YouTube. Yes. YouTube indeed. YouTube. Gang gang. All right, guys. Bye, crew. Bye, Bob. Who else is in chat here? Let me see. Try to catch everybody. Raphael, thanks for all your help today, man. I really appreciate Raphael, Bob, Kirk. There's several of you who have been very patient with me learning Rust and doing a lot of hard work trying to help explain it to me. So I really appreciate that. So thank you, guys. Ryan, I know you were here for just a little bit, but see you, Ryan. Charles, thanks for hanging out. I see you already left. Who else? Mark, thanks for being here. Maddie, appreciate you over there on Twitch holding it down. I think that was everybody who was here recently. All right, guys. Bye, everybody. Appreciate it. Bye. Bye, chat. Bye, guys. Have a great day.